Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
The Huxia nation was divided into 5 regions: the Eastern region, the Southern region, the Western region, the Northern region, and the Central region. Although each region had its own development system, direction, and cultural heritage, they all went through a century of peaceful development. Today, Daxia is a world behemoth with a prosperous economy and great strength, and it is capable of reaching the top of the world. Only a handful of nations could rival it. Among the 5 regions of Daxia, the southern region was the most economically prosperous. The eastern and northern regions revered martial prowess and had a fierce and valiant culture. The western region had a diverse lifestyle, simple and honest customs, and a vast territory. The central region had a large population, diverse humanistic spirit, and a profound cultural heritage. The darkness is always the best breeding ground for evil. On a dimly lit street in Juu City in the northern region, 5 or 6 men were punching and kicking a man who was lying on the ground holding his head. Kid, you tried to act like a pushover, and you kept meddling in other people's business. You dare to show your pathetic sense of justice to Brother Luo. I think you're tired of living. 5 or 6 men beat the man on the ground for a full minute. At this moment, a man with effeminate features, a slender build and dressed in designer clothes, holding a bottle of beverage, slowly spoke, "All right." Upon hearing the man's voice, everyone stopped and turned to fawn over him, bowing and scraping. "Brother Luo, this kid actually ruined your plans. If you don't teach him a lesson, he won't know who he's dealing with." The man known as Brother Luo is named Luo Jihu. His father is one of the top 3 richest businessmen in Juu City, with businesses spanning the entire city and extensive connections. It can be said that in Juu City, Luo Jihu is a figure who has influence in both the legal and illegal worlds. Because of this, Luo Jihu's rich second generation is notorious for his lawlessness in Juu City. Even the law enforcement team has to give him a wide berth. The man who was beaten is named Xiao, 19 years old, and works as a security guard at the school gate. Previously, Luo Jihu had harassed a girl at the school gate, making indecent remarks. Xiao's youthful temper flared up. He couldn't stand it anymore, stepped forward, spoke a few words of justice, pulled the girl behind him to protect her, and stared righteously at Luo Jihu for a long time. This made Luo Jihu lose face in front of his gang of thugs, and he was extremely angry. That's why we have this scene of Xiao being cornered and beaten on this street. With a glass beverage bottle twirling in his hand, Gary Locke squatted down in front of Xiao. Looking down at him with a sinister smile, said, "Kid, who in the entire Juu City dares to disrespect me? Luo Jihu, don't you recognize me? Mind your own business. From now on, steer clear of me, or I'll not only cripple you, but I'll also make your parents disappear from Juu City." As he spoke, Gary Locke spat on Xiao's head. Ha 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 ha. What? The unrestrained laughter around him irritated Xiao. Having lost both his parents, he was left alone at home and had no choice but to drop out of school and work. He eventually became a security guard at the school gate. For him, his parents were a source of deep pain. A family like his should have stayed within their bounds and not challenged the so-called powerful and wealthy. But as someone who has never truly entered society, who could possibly have the mindset to suppress the temperament and sense of justice that are inherent to this age group? Xiao, who was already in excruciating pain from the beating, suddenly turned red-eyed when he heard the other party mention his parents. Using the strength of his waist, he slammed his head hard into Luo Jihu's face. Bang. Luo Jihu's face was slammed hard by Xiao, and blood gushed from his nose like a fountain. He then sat down on the ground with a thud. "Damn it, don't you dare talk about my parents. Don't you dare talk about my parents. Su Ayahan, as if possessed, continued to lunge at Luo Jihu. However, 5 or 6 men nearby seeing this instantly surrounded him and continued to beat him with fists and kicks. Gary Locke's shirt was now stained red with blood from his nose, and he rushed forward angrily roaring, "Get out of my way, everyone's." Su Ayahan could only protect his head, enduring the blows and kicks raining down on his body. Suddenly he heard a roar and the beating seemed to stop. He then looked up and around just then. A beverage bottle slowly magnified in Su Ayahan's eyes, finally landing on his head. Bang, snap. The glass bottle shattered, and blood instantly streamed down Su Ayahan's face. A wave of dizziness washed over him, and Su Ayahan completely lost consciousness. Lying motionless on the ground, Luo Jihu still relentless kicked Su Ayahan several times. Those nearby noticed something was wrong and quickly pulled Luo Jihu away, saying, "Brother Luo, stop hitting him. If you keep going, someone will die." As a top-tier rich second generation in Juu City, Luo Jihu is used to being arrogant and domineering, often doing things that are immoral and immoral. However, this does not mean that he is stupid. If someone is really killed, even if his father has extensive connections, it will not be so easy to resolve in this age of information explosion. Looking at Su Ayahan lying on the ground, still breathing weakly and covered in blood, Luo Jihu, his face also covered in blood, coldly said to the people beside him, "Remember this, just say you saw this kid trying to rob me. Then beat me up and you intervene to help, don't worry. With me here and you all telling the same story. Even if he really dies, I'll keep everyone safe." As he spoke, Gary Locke gently wiped the blood from his nose, and the excruciating pain made him gasp. "Damn it, what bad luck," he tooted. A mouthful of spit mixed with blood landed again on Su Ayahan's face, who was already unconscious, as if the light in the world had disappeared and darkness was growing. Not long after, a few people walking home late at night happened to pass by on the roadside, chatting and laughing. When they passed the corner, they saw Su Ayahan lying on the ground with his face covered in blood. They were startled and, without thinking, quickly dialed 120 and sent Su Ayahan to the hospital. Light will eventually appear in the darkness. When any aspect reaches its extreme, its opposite will appear. Light will always exist. On the way to the hospital, blood from Su Ayahan's head dripped down and stained the small jade pendant he had picked up in the mountains as a child, which resembled jade but was not. The small jade tablet absorbed Su Ayahan's blood directly. As time passed, the tablet emitted a faint blue light and then slowly merged into Su Ayahan's chest. This scene went unnoticed even by the doctor standing nearby. While unconscious, Su Ayahan felt as if he had wandered into a strange world. The place was only a few hundred square meters in size, with thick fog in the distance and a spring gushing water in the middle of the land. Su Ayahan didn't know where he was. He wanted to leave, but the surrounding fog blocked his way, making it impossible for him to leave. On a patch of land beside the spring, some incredibly precious medicinal herbs grew luxuriantly, in various vibrant colors. Su Ayahan didn't recognize most of them, but he immediately spotted a considerable number of ginseng. Beside the thick fog, a small wooden house stood, seemingly in perfect harmony with this world. Looking at everything before him, Su Ayahan was filled with questions. He called out to the house, "Is anyone there?" But only Su Ayahan's voice echoed in this small world. There was no other sound at all. "Where am I? Am I dreaming?" Su Ayahan muttered to himself as he walked directly to the small wooden house, pushed open the door and went inside. The room contained a table, a chair, a bookshelf, and a finely crafted longsword hanging on the wall. It was very simple, with nothing superfluous. After scanning the room, Su Ayahan saw hundreds of ancient books on the bookshelf, and on the table were a jade bottle, a jade pendant, and a small pagoda with 9 stories. Stepping forward, Su Ayahan touched the table and murmured, "There's no dust. Could it be that the owner left? But the surrounding fog is impossible to penetrate. This is really strange." As he spoke, Su Aohan casually picked up the exquisite-looking jade pendant on the table. But just as he touched the jade pendant, it suddenly transformed into a starlight and flashed into Su Aohan's mind. In an instant, Su Aohan felt many strange things starting to appear in his mind, and they were increasing like a volcanic eruption. The intense pain was unbearable for Su Aohan, causing him to fall into a coma. He would then wake up in pain, only to faint again from the pains. After repeating this several times, the intense pain gradually subsided. Su Aohan lay on the ground panting heavily, his eyes filled with lingering fear. Su Aohan felt like he had just walked through the gates of hell and almost went to meet his parents. At the same time, Su Aohan, who had been taken to the hospital, began sweating profusely, and a grayish-black substance oozed out, leaving the doctors bewildered and shocked, completely unable to understand what was happening. After Su Aohan's consciousness recovered in the small world, he was shocked by what appeared in his mind. It turns out that this world was created by a powerful being using extraordinary abilities, and it had been sealed away until today when it met a destined person and was finally unsealed. This world has now successfully recognized a master, and it will gradually grow larger as the master's strength increases. The flow of time here is also different from that of the outside world. 1 month in this world is equivalent to 1 day in the real world. The jade pendant also contained a cultivation technique called the 9 heavens yin-yang kainkun technique. The jade bottle on the table contained a miraculous pill that could allow ordinary people to begin their cultivation journey. As for the small tower, it was an extremely powerful 9-story demon-suppressing tower. An immortal artifact, unfortunately. Even if Su Aohan had cultivated it, he wouldn't have the ability to use it. As for the books on the bookshelf, they can be said to encompass everything, from astronomical divination, supernatural powers and magic beast taming techniques, and the art of talisman and alchemy, to martial arts techniquesere formations and illusions, and unpredictable medical skills. Although the sword hanging on the wall cannot compare to the 9-story pagoda on the table, it is still an extremely powerful weapon. With a single strike, the winds and clouds will change. After understanding what was in his mind, Su Aohan was completely stunned. What is this? Could it be a fortuitous encounter? A predestined connection to immortality? Could it grant me eternal life? The more Su Aohan thought about it, the more unbelievable it seemed. He walked out of the room and carefully observed this small world. When he came to the spring, he reached out and stirred the misty water, finding it incredibly real. It looks exactly like the real thing. Could it be that I was killed by that Gary Locke and came to this world? Or is this all a dream? Thinking of this, Su Aohan clenched his fist's eyes filled with hatred, and said, no matter what, even if I become a vengeful ghost, Su Aohan, swear I will not be human again if I do not avenge this disfiguring wound on my head. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Aohan returned to the room, picked up the jade bottle on the table and opened it. The moment Su Aohan opened the jade bottle, he smelled a refreshing fragrance that made his pores open. I hope it's not a dream nor an illusion. Whether I'm a ghost cultivator or a human cultivator, I must keep going. Thinking to himself, Su Aohan poured out the pills. The moment he saw the pills, Su Aohan froze on the spot. What's this? Cashews or raisins? Why does it look like this? Did someone put dried fruit in here to trick me? Gritting his teeth, Su Aohan swallowed the pill from the jade bottle in one gulp. He immediately felt the pill transform into a warm current flowing into his abdomen. And then it began to release heat. Sensing all this, Su Aohan sat down cross-legged and attempted his first cultivation session according to the records and operating methods of the 9 heavens yin-yang kainkun technique in his mind. At first, Su Aohan was unable to enter that state of cultivation, but the pills in his body continued to emit powerful medicinal effects, causing Su Aohan to feel an explosive pain coming like a tidal wave. The more anxious Su Aohan became, the more mistakes he made. The more mistakes he made, the more anxious he became. In the end, Su Aohan felt like he was about to explode and could no longer hold on. But at that moment in his anxiety, a thought unconsciously occurred to him. By sheer coincidence, like a lost person finding their way home, the medicinal power in his body was instantly guided by a mysterious force and began to circulate within him according to the cultivation technique's pathways. At this moment, Su Aohan's pain gradually lessened. The internal energy cultivation technique circulated faster and faster, and the medicinal power of the pill also propelled the first faint wisp of true energy to gradually emerge within Su Aohan's body. For 10 whole days in the small world, Su Aohan remained motionless, circulating his cultivation technique. The massive influx of spiritual energy into his body completely activated the meridians within him, and the true energy within his body increased from a wisp at the beginning to a strand now, dozens of times larger. This was Su Aohan using the powerful effects of the pills and the spiritual energy in his small world to directly step into the first level of the 9 heavens yin-yang kainkun technique. Although it was only the initial stage, Su Aohan had already begun to transcend the realm of ordinary people because he possessed powerful true energy within his body and had some special abilities that were not ordinary. After the medicinal effects of the pill completely dissipated, Su Aohan opened his eyes and carefully sensed the changes in his body. He murmured happily, "Great. With such an opportunity, how can I not rise above others? Even if you're a rich kid, I'll still trample you under my feet." Unbeknownst to Su Aohan's consciousness within the small world, his physical bodying on the hospital bed had also advanced to the first level of the 9 heavens yin-yang kainkun technique. The true energy within his entire body was continuously nourishing his body, and his injuries were healing rapidly. Even his bones and muscles underwent tremendous changes, revealing 8-pack abs with beautiful lines that astonished everyone. However, this scene was also discovered by the nurse. Intrigued, the nurse removed the gauze from Su Aohan's head and found that the wound on his head had also disappeared. This caused a complete uproar. "Do you think I'm hallucinating? His head injury was less than 8 hours old. How could it have healed so miraculously? Look at the muscle definition in his arms. They weren't this defined when he was first brought in. What's going on? It's unbelievable. I just examined his entire body, and some of the changes are truly astonishing." Just as several nurses were curiously observing Su Aohan and preparing to report the matter, Su Aohan woke up, looking at the unfamiliar surroundings and the few nurses. Su Aohan asked, "Is this a hospital?" Several nurses looked at Su Aohan in surprise and nodded. "This is Juu City People's Hospital. You were seriously injured, please lie down first. We need to give you a comprehensive examination immediately." Upon hearing the nurse's words, Su Aohan recalled being beaten by Luo Jihu and his gang, and the last bottle of blood. He clearly remembered bleeding profusely. But when Su Aohan touched his head, he found no wounds, no pain, and the true energy flowing slowly within his body. At this moment, he fully understood that everything that had happened in that small world was not a dream or an illusion, but real. Thinking of this, Su Aohan disregarded everything else, ripped the IV from his arm, grabbed the clothes beside him, and got up to walk outside. "Hey Tilda, what are you doing? You can't move, we still need to do some tests on you. It would be troublesome if you had any lasting damage to your brain." However, Su Aohan couldn't stay. He was afraid that if his body were examined, his special condition and the secret of that small world would be discovered, which would be troublesome. Without a second thought, Su Aohan took off running, hurriedly paid the fees at the front desk, and left the hospital immediately. In the same hospital, in another VIP wards, Luo Jihu's nose was wrapped in gauze with a trace of blood seeping through. Standing beside him was a middle-aged man, Luo Zhuang, Luo Jihu's father and a well-known wealthy businessman in Juu City. "Daddy, you have to make that kid pay. Otherwise, I won't be able to swallow this even with my broken nose." Luo Zhuang, his face also filled with anger, said, "You never do anything productive. If you actually kill that kid, I'll be the one cleaning up your mess. You stay in the hospital and recover. I'll make sure that kid gets kicked out of No 2 middle school. And he won't find a single job in the entire city of Jiu. As Luo Zhuang finished speaking, a middle-aged man standing to the side cautiously began to speak. Chairman Luo Jihu's is just a minor personal conflict, and thankfully it hasn't caused any unforeseen consequences. That young man's name is Su Ayahan, an orphan. A pitiful person. How about I have Su Ayahan apologize to Jihu, and then have him pay all the medical expenses? Would that be all right? Who knew that Luo Zhuang? Upon hearing the other party's words, coldly replied, "Pitiful? Do you think my son is pitiful now? Let me tell you. Starting today, that Su Ayahan won't find any work in Juu City. I'm going to make him beg on the streets. And Principal Wang, your school is really something else. A mere security guard dared to rob my son in the street and beat him up like this. If you don't fire someone like that, your job as principal is over. Furthermore, as the school principal, how could you hire someone like that as a security guard? Can such a criminal do a good job? You are also partly to blame. I will seriously consider whether to report this to the relevant authorities." Principal Wang was startled by Luo Zhuang's words. He knew Luo Zhuang's power. A single word from him could get him fired. He also knew that this matter couldn't be resolved peacefully, so he could only sigh and in front of Luo Zhuang take out his phone to inform the security office of the decision to dismiss Su Ayahan. After leaving the hospital, Su Ayahan took a bus to the guardhouse, only to be met by his former colleagues who had already packed his luggage and informed him of his dismissal. "Xiao Su, we've heard about what happened to you. Just accept your bad luck. If possible, you'd better leave Juu City." Hearing his former colleague's words, Su Ayahan nodded slightly and said, "I see." Su Ayahan, carrying his luggage, looked at the place where he had only been working for a short time and sighed deeply. He understood that all of this was the work of that rich second generation named Luo Jihu. But Su Ayahan was helpless to do anything about it. Wandering aimlessly down the street, Su Ayahan didn't dare go back to the village, after all. The villagers had helped him a lot after his parents passed away, hoping that he could make a name for himself in the city. If he went back now, those in the village who had helped him would be very disappointed to know he had been expelled. Besides, Luo Jihu's family was too powerful. It wouldn't be good if it implicated the villagers. Thinking about all this, Su Ayahan made a decision to find a place to cultivate in seclusion in his own little world and improve his strength first. Only in this way could he have the capital to stand out from the crowd and even be able to contend with the power of the Luo family. After buying a large amount of food, Su Ayahan disappeared with his luggage in a secluded spot, entering his own little world. Feeling the rich spiritual energy within the small world, Su Ayahan closed his eyes and took a deep breath. With such abundant spiritual energy and the different flow of time, I believe my strength will improve rapidly. He bent down, scooped up some spring water and took a sip. A cool sensation flowed down his throat into his abdomen, and wisps of spiritual energy spread throughout his body. The 9 heavens yin-yang Kainkun technique also began to operate automatically, absorbing the spiritual energy and transforming it into true energy within his body. Su Ayahan's cultivation of the 9 heavens yin-yang Kainkun technique is divided into 12 levels, each level consisting of 4 stages: initial, middle, late, and perfect from the first to the 3rd stage. True qi is generated within the body. From the 4th to the 6th stage, the true qi transforms into spiritual qi, officially marking the beginning of immortal cultivation. At this point, one can fly and escape into the earth, mastering supernatural powers and techniques. From the 7th to the 9th stage, spiritual qi transforms into immortal qi, allowing one to soar 90,000 miles into the heavens, stepping onto the 7-star immortal pavilion, truly entering the path of immortality at this moment. Su Ayahan, through constant comparison with the records in his mind, finally understood completely. The path of cultivation is divided into martial arts cultivation and immortal cultivation. The martial arts realm is divided into Qi gathering, acquired innate grandmaster, great grandmaster, and martial arts limit. After reaching the martial arts limit, martial arts practitioners need to condense a golden core to begin their journey into immortal cultivation. However, it is extremely difficult for martial arts practitioners to enter the golden core realm. Cultivators, on the other hand, start with Qi refining, foundation building, and Bigu abstaining from grains. Qi refining corresponds to the Qi gathering and acquired realms in martial arts cultivation. Foundation building corresponds to the innate and grandmaster realms. Bigu corresponds to the grandmaster and the limit of martial arts realms. And after breaking through Bigu, one can enter the golden core realm, known as a terrestrial immortal. As for the 10th to 12th levels of the 9 heavens yin, yang Qiankun technique, Su Aihan could only see them very vaguely, as if something was blocking his view, preventing him from seeing the whole picture. He got up and entered the rooms, then started browsing the bookshelves. Because of his current low cultivation level, he found it difficult to understand and learn about astronomical divination, supernatural powers and spells, talismans and alchemy, and the art of formations. Left with no other choice, Su Aihan turned his attention to martial arts techniques and unpredictable medical skills that he could learn. 5 elements: dragon steps, Vajra earth-splitting fist, the demon-slaying shadowless kick, the 13 swords of lightning raging thunder hand, mysterious finger technique, 12 paths of lightning strike. Su Aihan also selected medical books one by one. The Plain Questions, the Spiritual Pivot, Shennong's Classic of Materia Medica, Treatise on Febrile Diseases, the Difficulties Classic, the Golden Chamber Synopsis, the Central Canon, Pulse Classic, the Yellow Emperor's Inner Classic, Tai Su, the Classic of Acupuncture and Moxibustion, holding the selected martial arts techniques and medical manuals. Su Aihan calmed his mind and began to cultivate in seclusion in his room within the small world. From morning to noons, he practiced the 9 heavens yin-yang Qiankun technique to strengthen the true energy within his body. From noon to evenings, Su Aihan would allocate his time to practice various martial arts and delve into the unpredictable medical skills. While Su Aihan was in seclusion in this small world, 3 whole months had passed in the outside world. But for Su Aihan inside the small world, nearly 2.5 years had passed. For 2.5 years, Su Aihan did not step out of the small world. Every day he cultivated his true qi, practiced martial arts techniques, and studied the unpredictable medical skills. When the food was finished, he would drink water from the spiritual spring. Although it couldn't satisfy Su Aihan's appetite, the spiritual spring water could not only help Su Aihan cultivate, but also allow him to obtain the energy he needed so that he wouldn't starve to death. Inside the room of the small world, Su Aihan sat cross-legged on the bed, with wisps of true energy swirling around him. Suddenly, Su Aihan opened his eyes, and the true energy surrounding him instantly entered his body. Feeling the true energy within his body, Su Aihan murmured, "This 9 heavens yin-yang universe technique is truly difficult to cultivate. More than 2 years have passed in this small world, and I've only reached the late stage of the first level. However, my strength has increased dozens of times, and my true energy is several times thicker than before. The late stage of the first level is equivalent to the acquired realm of martial arts cultivation." Right. They're familiar with all those martial arts techniques. But surprisingly, they only have a superficial understanding of astrological divination. Truly a profound subject, however. They're perfectly capable of predicting people's fortunes. During the 2 years he spent in this small world, Su Aihan not only learned martial arts techniques and miraculous medical skills, but also attempted to learn astrological divination later on. Though he only scratched the surface, Su Aihan got up, stretched his body and walked out of the room. At that moment, Su Aihan found that the small world, which was originally several hundred square meters in size, had grown considerably to several thousand square meters, and the spiritual energy within it had become much denser. Suppressing his inner joy, Su Aohan left the small world and appeared in reality. It was the same place. Su Aohan looked around, identified the direction and started walking. Based on the timeline, Su Aohan knew that about 3 months had passed in reality, and it was time to go out. But just as he left the small world and appeared on the street, several arrogant men in a luxury car on the road turned their attention to Su Aohan. Coincidentally, the leader was none other than Luo Jihu. "Brother Luo, do you think that guy is Su Aohan?" "That's right, that B*** D-damn I actually didn't die. And he's already lively and energetic again so quickly. That B** D disappeared for 3 whole months. I thought he'd been fired and then committed suicide. Now that you've shown up, I have 100 ways to deal with you." So Gary Locke and 3 others got out of the car, crossed the road and blocked Su Aohan's path. "You B** D, you finally showed up. Even calling the police couldn't catch you. You thought firing you was the end of it. You dared to break my nose. Today I'll make you experience the pain of not being able to open your mouth to eat." Beat him up. As soon as Gary Locke finished speaking, the 3 men beside him rushed towards Su Aohan. Su Aohan was also furious when he saw Luo Jihu facing the 3 people rushing towards him. He moved his feet and it was as if countless shadows flashed. Bang, bang, bangs. Before the 3 people rushing towards Su Aohan could react, they were sent flying backward and crashed to the ground, clutching their chests in pain and unable to get up. Faced with this scene, Gary Locke was completely dumbfounded. After a moment of stunned silence, he said in shock, "Boy, what kind of sorcery did you use?" Su Aohan looked coldly at Luo Jihu and said, "Do you know? If it weren't for your rich dad, you would have been beaten to death long ago. I'll settle the score with you and your father for beating me, cracking my skull and using your connections to fire me." Upon hearing Su Aohan's words, Luo Jihu's cold face showed a hint of anger. He pulled a fruit knife from his pocket and charged straight at Su Aohan. "You brat, even if I kill you, I won't get away with it. You asked for this." A cold glint flashed in Su Aohan's eyes at this scene, for he had not expected the other party to dare to draw his knife in full view of everyone. This was clearly an attempt to kill him. With a flick of his finger, a wisp of true energy transformed into a needle and instantly entered Luo Jihu's body. Luo Jihu, who was rushing towards Su Aohan, felt a tingling sensation throughout his body, and his hand went out of control. The dagger in his hand fell to the ground with a crisp sound, swaying slightly with a strange look in his eyes. Luo Jihu looked at Su Aohan and said, "You brat, what did you do to me? Why do I feel like half of my body is numb and I can't use my strength?" Su Aohan slowly walked to Luo Jihu's side, reached out and patted Luo Jihu's face, saying, "Remember, I won't let you die so easily. I'll slowly make your whole family feel what true despair is." After speaking, Su Aohan flicked his fingers again, and another needle formed from true energy silently flashed into Luo Jihu's body. Upon hearing Su Aohan's words, Luo Jihu wanted to take action, but his body wouldn't obey him, and he could only watch helplessly as Su Aohan left. Passers-by on the street watched everything unfold from a distance, whispering among themselves. Walking down the street, Su Aohan felt lost. What should he do now? Work impossible. After such an extraordinary encounter, he would never work again in his life. Medical skills. Su Aohan's medical skills can now be described as unparalleled, and with the aid of his internal energy, he can cure any disease with ease. The problem is that in today's society, you need a medical license. Without that little book, it's illegal. Besides, Su Aohan doesn't believe anyone would believe that a 19-year-old like him knows Huxia medicine. He can't just grab a patient and force them to treat him. If you actually do that, forget about getting treatment. You'll probably just be arrested as mentally ill and locked up in a mental hospital. Astrological divination can indeed help people predict good and bad fortune and avert bloodshed. But who would believe in such things in this city? Thinking about all this, Su Aohan shook his head and murmured, "Fine. There's only one way now, wait for Luo Jihu to come to me. No one can detect or break my invisible needles of true energy. It won't be long before he comes begging for my help. Your family has plenty of money, right? I'll make you bleed a little. Even if things go terribly wrong. Digging up a ginseng root from this small world and selling it would be enough for me to live comfortably for a few years." On the other side, feeling the paralyzed half of his body, Gary Locke roared at the people on the ground. "Useless trash. You always call yourselves Ikino Shakira. But I think you're all just 3-second quick-draw shooters. Don't just stand there like a jerk. Help me into the car right now, we need to get to the hospital. That kid used some kind of sorcery, my body is numb. I can't move." The three struggling on the ground gritted their teeth, endured the dull pain in their chests and got up. They helped Luo Jihu into the car, which sped towards the hospital. Upon arriving at the hospital, Gary Locke underwent various examinations, but the hospital couldn't find anything wrong with him. Even the attending physician and the hospital director themselves couldn't find a solution. But the numbness in Gary Locke's body only intensified. Facing the doctors, nurses, and hospital director standing before him, Gary Locke roared frantically, "Damn it, you bunch of useless trash, get out of here. Tomorrow I'll have my dad buy this lousy hospital. And then I'll fire you all." I called my dad. And I felt the numbness getting stronger and stronger. I need to go to Kyoto for treatments. Upon hearing Luo Jihu's words, the people nearby hurriedly dialed Luo Zhuang's number and briefly explained the situation. Soon, Luo Zhuang arrived at the hospital with a group of people. After learning about his son's current condition, Luo Zhuang was extremely angry. "Dad, I feel numb all over and I can't muster any strength. It's because of that stinky security guard named Su Aohan. He even said he wanted to show the Su family what despair is." Upon hearing Luo Jihu's words, Luo Zhuang looked at Luo Jihu lying on the hospital bed. His eyes filled with intense killing intent, and coldly said, "Immediately contact all the experts in Juu City to come here. Funding is not a problem. Whoever can cure my son will be an honored guest of Luozhuang village from now on." After making the arrangements, Luo Zhuang walked to the side, took out his phone, and made a call, have someone find a man named Su Aohan. He used to be a security guard at the No 2 middle school. Bring him to me after you find him. As soon as Luo Zhuang made a phone call, a group of people in Juu City began to move. These people were usually shady characters, and their leader was Brother Kun, one of the 3 big shots in Juu City. He had hundreds of henchmen under his command, managed more than 20 bars, more than 10 saunas and bathhouses, and dozens of nightclubs, secretly controlling the entire northern district of Juu City. He was a local tyrant, once Brother Kun spoke. The entire network of connections across various industries in the northern district of Juu City began to operate. It must be said that people in the underworld are extremely fast at finding people, and they quickly located Su Aohan's current location. In a roadside food stall in Juu City, Su Aohan was eating when 5 or 6 burly-looking men with a thuggish air about them stormed up to him. "Your name is Su Aohan, right? You used to be a security guard at No 2 middle school." Su Aohan took a bite of food, slowly raised his head, glanced at the group and said, "The Luo family is indeed very powerful. They found us so quickly." Seeing Su Aohan's nonchalant attitude, the group sneered and said, "Kid, come with us, our brother Kun wants to see you." "I don't know any of those Kun Ji, Bai Ji, or Dub Bai Ji people." "Damn it, kid, you're asking for it, take him with you." As soon as the man finished speaking, several people surrounded him, looking as if they were about to carry Su Aohan away. Facing the group of people who were about to touch him, Su Aohan stretched out one hand and swung his arm with incredible speed. Clap, 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 and a series of sharp, fleshy slaps followed, and the men who had surrounded him fell to the ground, blood trickling from their mouths. They covered their faces in shock, staring at Su Aohan, who remained seated as if he hadn't moved an inch. The scene that unfolded startled the diners around them. Forget about their foodsie hurriedly got up and retreated, fearing they might be caught in the crossfire. The man who had spoken earlier was also surprised by this scene, because he hadn't even seen how Su Ayahan made his move. I didn't realize you were a trained fighter. But even the best kung fu master is vulnerable to a knife. I advise you to come with me to avoid bloodshed. The man spoke while bending over, his eyes gleaming with a fierce light, getting incredibly close to Su Ayahan, as if Su Ayahan couldn't hear him. Faced with the other person's posture, Su Ayahan smiled and said, "Give a message to your so-called brother Kun. Tell him to let whoever wants to see me come in person. Don't disturb my meal now, you can leave." After finishing his meal, Su Ayahan continued eating. Just then the man in front of him coldly cursed, "You brat. How dare you?" As he spoke, he threw a punch at Su Ayahan. Su Ayahan didn't even raise her head before slapping the man across the face. Before the man's fist even touched Su Ayahan, he was sent flying backward by the slap, crashing into several plastic stools. Smack, snap. The plastic stool shattered with a crack, and the man spat out blood mixed with 2 teeth. His gaze toward Su Ayahan filled with horror. The onlookers, watching from afar, exclaimed in amazement, "That young man is amazing. He didn't leave his seat the entire time he was hitting people. I think that young man must be a martial arts expert. The kind of person who can't be approached by more than 10 people. Even martial arts skills are useless. Do you know who those people are? They're henchmen of Brother Kun, one of the 3 big shots in Juu City. If that young man offends Brother Kun, he'll probably be lucky to escape with his life. Yeah. This society is all about brains, connections, and money. No matter how talented you are, it's useless if you don't have connections." While the people around them were discussing heatedly and pointing at him from a distance, the group of people who had gotten up from the ground earlier glanced at Su Ayahan and said, "Don't think you can look down on everyone just because you've learned a few skills. Today I'll show you what the real world is like." As he spoke, the man took out his phone and made a call, recounting what had happened not long after. Several cars stopped not far from the street, and dozens of people got out and gathered around the food stall where Su Ayahan was. The leader was about 1.78 meters tall with a buzz cut, a gleaming gold chain around his neck, and a very noticeable scar on the corner of his mouth, which added to his menacing appearance. "Hello, Brother Kun, that's him." The man called Brother Kun looked around the food stall. No one dared to eat there anymore. Even the owner was hiding inside, too afraid to come out. But Su Ayahan stood out by sitting down and eating intently. This made Kun frown, and he slowly walked up to Su Ayahan, saying in a cold tone, "Su Ayahan, right? Not bad, you've got some skills. But someone wants to see you. Let's keep things peaceful, so why don't you come with me?" The man called Brother Kun seemed to be discussing something with Su Ayahan, which surprised Su Ayahan, however. When he looked up and saw Brother Kun's eyes, Su Ayahan realized that the man in front of him was not as harmonious as his tone suggested. Instead, he gave off a chilling and sinister feeling. A smiling tiger. Looking around at the dozens of people surrounding him, Su Ayahan put down his chopsticks, showing no sign of nervousness. He took out a cigarette from his pocket, lit it, took a puff, and said, "Your Brother Kun. The Luo family sent you, right?" Upon hearing Su Ayahan's words and seeing Su Ayahan arrogantly smoking, Kun frowned and said, "Since you already know, let's not waste any more time. To avoid bloodshed, you'd better just cooperate obediently. I'll say it again, if they want to see me, let the Luo family come to me themselves." Having said all that, Kunji's eyes flashed with a vicious light as he gave Su Ayahan a deep look. Then he turned and took a few steps away, speaking calmly. "Take him away." As soon as he finished speaking, people immediately surrounded Su Ayahan. This scene caused onlookers in the distance to move away again, and some, fearing something might happen, took out their phones to call the police. Facing dozens of people surrounding him, Su Ayahan showed no fear whatsoever and attacked directly. With his cultivation at the acquired realm, Dealing with ordinary people was like beating up kindergarten children. His speed and accuracy were incredible. As soon as Su Ayahan made a move, someone would fall to the ground and never get up again. In just a dozen or so breaths, nearly 20 people lay on the ground groaning. The remaining 8 or 9 people, faced with Su Ayahan's skill, dared not approach. Some were afraid and surrounded Su Ayahan, swallowing hard. These people were all tough fighters in their daily lives, and they had seen many skilled fighters, even those who risked their lives. But this was the first time they had ever seen someone as capable as Su Ayahan in person. Su Ayahan took a step forward, and the people surrounding him took a step back, step by step. Su Ayahan came to stand in front of Brother Kun, and their eyes met. Su Ayahan, very good. You're the most capable fighter I've ever seen. I Kai Kun appreciate talents. Are you interested in following me? You can get whatever you want in Juu City, moreover. I can make you the Dark Emperor of the North District. As for the matter in Luozhuang, I'll put in a good word for you. How about it? Kai Kun appeared very calm and while speaking. He kept his eyes fixed on Su Ayahan's, waiting for Su Ayahan's answer, to everyone's surprise. Su Ayahan smiled and shook his head upon hearing Kai Kun's words, saying, "Those who walk different paths cannot make plans together. Daxia is full of capable people. It's a joke that a small underground force in Juu City dares to call itself emperor. Also, please pass on a message to Luo Jihu if he wants to recover. He needs his family to come see me in person. Are you really not considering this with your abilities, plus the resources I control? It's not impossible for us to directly control not only Juu City, but the entire northern regions." Su Ayahan looked at Kai Kun calmly and said seriously, "You're black, I'm white, do you understand? And I'm asking you to give up all those illegal things you're doing now. Can you do that?" Just as Su Ayahan finished speaking, police sirens sounded around them, and dozens of law enforcement officers surrounded them. "Don't move, squat down and put your hands behind your head." When Kai Kun saw the enforcement team appear, frowned, glanced at Su Ayahan and then sent a message on his phone. The rest of the people could only obediently squat down on the ground with their heads in their hands when faced with the law enforcement team. Only Kai Kun and Su Ayahan stood facing each other, motionless at this moment. An officer from the law enforcement team approached Kai Kun and Su Ayahan. He first glanced at Su Ayahan with surprise, then turned to Kai Kun and said, "Kai Kun, what's this? Bringing so many people here for a shootout?" "Captain Wang, that's not how it works. I brought my brothers here for a meal and drinks. That isn't illegal, is it?" "Eating isn't illegal, of course, but what happened here? What's with the bloodstains on the ground, Captain Wang?" "My brothers are all loyal and righteous people. They got into a bit of a fight over the bill. And that's not illegal, is it?" Captain Wang looked around and said with a smile, "Just to pay the bill, wow, that's quite an eye-opener." As he spoke, Captain Wang suddenly turned around and shouted at the enforcement team, "Take everyone back to the Yan family for interrogation, and also retrieve the surrounding surveillance footage." Su Ayahan and Kai Kun were also taken into the law enforcement vehicle. The entire food stall was left in a mess. But for ordinary people, they could only dare to be angry but not speak out, unless they didn't want to live in Juu City anymore. At the same time, inside a detached villa, Luo Zhuang heard what the man in front of him said, and after a moment of silence murmured, "He couldn't even handle a lowly security guard, and he even got arrested and taken to the Law Enforcement Bureau. He's supposedly one of the 3 big bosses in Juu City. Besides being ruthless compared to the other 2, he's neither good at making money nor has any influence. He's truly pathetic. Chairman Luo, that Kai Kun is treacherous and ruthless. Although he's helped us a lot over the years, he's also taken a lot of benefits. I still feel he's not the kind of person who's easy to control. Should we get in touch with the enforcement team and have them take care of him?" Luo Zhuang held a cigar in his hand. After exhaling a cloud of smoke, he said, "Kai Kun is indeed difficult to control, but he likes money. Having a henchman like him makes things much easier. Contact the law enforcement team and get Kai Kun and his gang out. What about that Su Ayahan guy? Don't worry about him for now. The most important thing is Jia Hui's health. I'll deal with Su Ayahan later. Inside the Juu City Law Enforcement Bureau, Su Ayahan faced the 3 law enforcement officers in front of him and said expressionlessly, "I'm not exactly a criminal, am I? Isn't this method of interrogation a bit inappropriate?" "There's nothing inappropriate about it. We've reviewed the surveillance footage. You assaulted more than 20 people, and many of them sustained injuries, some quite serious. When dozens of people surrounded me, I called it self-defense. You seem to have a misunderstanding about self-defense. The surveillance footage is very clear. It's obvious you struck first. Your situation falls under mutual combat. Now answer whatever questions I ask you." At the same time, in the office of the Law Enforcement Bureau Chief, Captain Wang opened the surveillance video on the computer and said to a middle-aged man in uniform, "Director Huang, look, this is the man. His skills are terrifying. He seems to be from that kind of place. He faced Kai Kun and his dozens of men without any fear. And he wasn't injured at all from beginning to end." After watching the surveillance video, the middle-aged man, referred to as Director Huang, said calmly, "Has the investigation been completed? Why is Kai Kun targeting this young man named Su Ayahan?" "That's unclear at the moment, but I just heard that Luo Jihu's secretary informed Deputy Director Tian. And after a brief questioning and taking statements, Kai Kun and the others were released." Director Huang frowned slightly upon hearing Captain Wang's words and said, "Deputy Director Tian is very close to Luo Jihu. Deputy Director Tian is the second-in-command's right-hand man. I think they just want to oust you, Director Huang, so they can naturally take the position of Director of the Enforcement Bureau." As soon as Captain Wang finished speaking, Director Huang abruptly stood up and said sternly to Captain Wang, "Xiao Wang, some things can't be said carelessly. If someone with ulterior motives overhears, I can't protect you either, understand? Let's go, I'll go see that young man named Su Ayahan." In the interrogation room, Su Ayahan answered all the questions posed by the law enforcement team. However, when asked about more sensitive topics, Su Ayahan simply replied with 3 words, "I don't know." Slap. "Su Ayahan, do you know what kind of problem this is?" "It's group fighting, you'd better tell the truth." "A group fight? Wow, that's terrifying if I'm not mistaken. That guy called Brother Kun has probably already left the Law Enforcement Bureau and is probably out drinking and carousing with dozens of people somewhere. The dozens of people who attacked me left the Law Enforcement Bureau in the blink of an eye, while I, the one who was attacked, I'm left here to be interrogated. What, do they think I'm young and easy to bully? Or are they just trying to scare me?" As Su Ayahan spoke, a sharp glint flashed in his eyes as he stared intently at the 3 people opposite him. The aura emanating from the cultivator and the piercing gaze in his eyes startled the 3 law enforcement team members opposite him, completely stunning them. Just then, the interrogation room door suddenly opened, and Director Huang and Captain Wang walked in. "Director Huang, what brings you here?" The 3 interrogators hurriedly stood up and spoke when they saw Director Huang enter. "It's nothing, I just came to check on things." "How did the inquiry go, Director Huang?" "We've asked enough questions, but there are some details they absolutely refuse to disclose. They're a tough nut to crack." Director Huang glanced at the written record and said calmly, "I've reviewed the surveillance footage. This young man's actions were clearly self-defense. As for whether he struck first, that's a matter of human nature. With so many people involved, you can't wait until someone is completely defenseless before retaliating. Otherwise, the self-defense claim would be meaningless." After speaking, Director Huang turned to Su Ayahan and smiled. "Not bad, young man, your skills are amazing. You must have been practicing martial arts since you were a child, right?" Faced with the smiling and amiable Director Huang, Su Ayahan naturally put away his arrogance and nodded with a smile. "I guess so. Would you be interested in working for the law enforcement team?" I can submit a report to the higher-ups and make a special application. With your skills, it would be a real waste not to join the law enforcement team. If conditions permit later, I can recommend you for some special positions. Upon hearing Director Huang's words, Su Aohan smiled and shook his head saying, Director Huang, I'm sorry, although I really want to do something noble like protecting the people and fighting crime. I'm just a lazy person by nature and can't stand those strict rules. I'm sorry. After Su Aohan finished speaking, he carefully looked at Director Huang's face, hesitated for a moment and then continued, Director Huang, you haven't been feeling well lately, have you? Director Huang, not understanding what Su Aohan meant, said in surprise, what, young man? Do you also know the medical skills of observation, auscultation, inquiry, and palpation? As he spoke, Su Aohan saw a hint of a smile in Director Huang's eyes. It was a teasing smile, clearly indicating that he didn't believe someone of Su Aohan's age could perform such advanced traditional Huxia medicine techniques as observation, auscultation, inquiry, and palpation. Su Aohan naturally understood this point even in the past. He wouldn't have believed that a 19-year-old boy could diagnose someone's illness with just one glance. After all, traditional Huxia medicine is a very profound subject. Hard work and comprehension alone are not enough. Some things require time to accumulate and mature. Ignoring Director Huang's teasing, Su Aohan smiled and leaned back in his chair saying, Director Huang has been going to the restroom a lot lately. Su Aohan stopped after saying half a sentence, drawing out the last syllable. But that one half sentence made Director Huang, who had been smiling instantly, turn serious. Looking closely at the relaxed Su Aohan, Director Huang said to Captain Wang, turn off the recording and take them outside. I need to speak with Su Aohan alone to reach this position. Captain Wang not only possesses strong personal abilities, but also exceptional insight. Without uttering a single unnecessary word, he turned off the recordings, led the others out of the interrogation room, and closed the door. At this moment, Director Huang looked at Su Aohan with a serious expression and said, what exactly do you do? How do you know so much about my personal matters? Su Aohan looked at Director Huang, who was staring intently at him, and said with a smile, Director Huang, please don't misunderstand. I'm a traditional Huxia medicine practitioner. And as you just mentioned, I know a little about the 4 diagnostic methods: observation, auscultation, inquiry, and palpation. Naturally, I'm the one who diagnosed your problem. Su Aohan's words not only stunned Director Huang, but also shocked him greatly. He knew his illness very well, and it was something that had been treated in countless large hospitals and by various famous doctors without being completely cured. The young man in front of him diagnosed his condition at a glance. To say that he completely believed him was a bit of a stretch. After all, being able to spot a patient's problem at a glance was beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. This really surprises me, since you said you could tell. Young man, could you tell me what illness I have? What are the symptoms? According to traditional Huxia medicine theory, this is caused by excessive internal heat, damage to the spleen and stomach, damp heat descending, and stagnation of essence. It is closely related to the heart, spleen, kidneys, and other organs. I imagine Director Huang has a lot of difficulty urinating, mostly just dribbling, and that your sexual activity usually ends before it even begins. As soon as Su Aohan finished speaking, Director Huang's face turned red with embarrassment, and his eyes were filled with shock as he looked at Su Aohan. Young man, so you really do know medicine. Can you cure my ailment? You know, this problem is really affecting my work, and my wife is giving me the cold shoulder. Sometimes I'd rather work overtime on cases than go home and face that gas tank. Who would have thought that the head of a city's law enforcement bureau would show such a dejected expression? Even such a powerful person has been worn down by illness and the hardships of life, losing all his temper. Seeing the other person's expression, Su Aohan said, Director Huang, rest assured, since I can see your problem, I can naturally treat it. Su Aohan's words instantly changed Director Huang's previously dejected expression. His eyes filled with surprise and delight. Really? Young Master Su, you're not joking with me. You're the director of the Law Enforcement Bureau in Juu City. How could I joke with you? Even if you locked me up for a few days, it wouldn't be worth it. Would it? Young Master Su is joking. As the director of the Juu City Law Enforcement Bureau, I am capable of being fair and impartial. Why would I do anything against regulations because of a joke? Director Huang's words immediately impressed Su Aohan. In such a position, an upright person deserves everyone's respect. Director Huang assured. Your illness can be completely cured with just one acupuncture session, followed by taking Sanji traditional Huxia medicine. Su Aohan's words gave Director Huang a glimmer of hope. He quickly wrote down Su Aohan's phone number and then said to Su Aohan, although I'm anxious, the procedures can't be skipped. I hope you'll be understanding, young man. After I have Captain Wang handle your matter, I'll host a banquet at my home tonight. I hope you'll do me the honor of joining me. Faced with such a righteous person, Su Aohan naturally had no reason to refuse. Moreover, if Su Aohan wanted to fight against the Luo family father and son, relying solely on personal strength was not the best option. Moreover, Su Aohan intended to use his unpredictable medical skills to instill despair in the Luo family father and son. Thinking of this, Su Aohan hurriedly spoke. All right, but Director Huang, I have a favor to ask. I wonder if you could do me a favor, young Master Su. As long as it doesn't violate any rules, just tell me, and I'll take care of it for you. Although I know some traditional medical skills passed down from my ancestors, I lack a medical license. I wonder if Director Huang has any connections he could make for me. Upon hearing Su Aohan's words, Director Huang was taken aback for a moment then, as if struck by a sudden thought. His eyes darted around as he said, I know the president of the Juu City Traditional Huxia Medicine Association, who is also the director of the Juu City Traditional Huxia Medicine Hospital. I've invited him to my house tonight. If he approves of Brother Su's medical skills, then obtaining a medical license won't be difficult. Although Su Aohan knew that Director Huang had another reason for doing this, he didn't care at all. Only those who lack real skills care about other people's opinions. Truly capable people don't care about other people's doubts. Thank you very much, Director Huang. Outside the Law Enforcement Bureau, Kai Kun sat in a car smoking, while a burly man next to him spoke. Brother Kun, that kid's skills are truly terrifying. Even if we wait for him to come out, we're not confident we can take him down. How about we cooperate with that boss Jin and give up a third of the profits? Kun hesitated for a moment upon hearing his subordinate's words, but it was quickly forgotten. He frowned and said, that Master Jin is indeed incredibly skilled, but he mostly operates on the fringes of extreme danger. It's best to avoid getting involved with him. Keep an eye on him. Make sure you find out where that kid lives. Even if he's incredibly skilled, I have over 100 ways to deal with him. The burly man's eyes lit up and he said, I understand, Brother Kun, but Luo Zhuang hasn't given us any benefits this time. Do you think he really considers us his subordinates, making us do whatever he wants? Brother Kun, should we show him what we're capable of? Kai Kun's eyes gleamed as he murmured, it's all about social niceties. He's using me to do shady things for him, and I'm in it for the money. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. Luo Zhuang is rich and powerful in Juu City, and I Kai Kun can't compare, but it won't be so easy for him to take advantage of me. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. At that moment, the burly man sitting in his car, not far from the law enforcement station, suddenly spoke. Brother Kun, it looks like that kid has come out. Kai Kun looked towards the entrance of the Law Enforcement Bureau and, sure enough, saw Su Aohan standing there casually, as if waiting for someone. Just then, a car drove out of the Law Enforcement Bureau and stopped next to Su Aohan. Su Aohan opened the car door and got in. And then the car drove away from the entrance of the Law Enforcement Bureau. This scene caused Kai Kun to frown deeply, while the burly man beside him exclaimed in surprise, "Brother Kun, something's not right. How did that kid get into Director Huang's car? Could it be that Luo Jihu deliberately set a trap for us?" Faced with this scene, Kai Kun's eyes showed a hint of surprise. After pondering for a moment, he said, "It seems this kid named Su Aohan is no ordinary person. We didn't investigate him properly before. Abandon the operations. You immediately arrange for someone to investigate this kid's background." At this moment, the driver in front of the vehicle turned around and said, "Brother Kun, should we follow them or go back?" Smack. "Go back to your mother's house." Su Aohan rode in Director Huang's car and arrived at a decent-looking residential area. After parking the cars, Director Huang led Su Aohan to his home. At the door, Director Huang's wife and a woman in her early 20s greeted him with smiles. Su Aohan said somewhat awkwardly, "Sister-in-law, I'm so sorry. It's my first time here and I was in such a rush that I didn't have time to buy a gift." The bureau chief's wife said with a smile, "Luckily you didn't buy a gift otherwise. Given Lao Huang's temper wouldn't even let you in. After all, too many people come to Lao Huang for favors. So he just chases away anyone with a gift." The group entered the house chatting and laughing. The bureau chief's wife said a few words and then went into the kitchen to busy herself. At this moment, Bureau Chief Huang pointed to the woman who looked to be around 20 years old and said, "Brother Su, let me introduce you. This is my daughter Huang Dudu. This is Su Aohan. You should be about the same age so you'll get along well." Su Aohan politely addressed Huang Dudu, "Hello." Su knew that Huang Dudu, with his mischievous eyes darting around, would say, "Su Aohan, right, looking at Xiao, you're about my age. Maybe even a little younger. You should call me sister. And you should call my mom auntie, not sister-in-law. Understand?" No sooner had Huang Dudu finished speaking than Director Huang said with a stern face, "Dudu, that's rude. From now on when you see Brother Su, you have to call him understand?" Huang Dudu wanted to argue, but seeing her father's stern face, she could only turn and glare fiercely at Su Aohan, occasionally revealing her little tiger teeth as if she wanted to bite him. To avoid an awkward situation, Su Aohan quickly spoke up. Director Huang's. I think we should each talk our own thing. Otherwise Dudu will feel awkward. And I'll feel uncomfortable too." Upon hearing Su Aohan's words, Director Huang seemed to recall something, glanced at Duduan, then nodded with a smile, "All right. Let's listen to Brother Su and each of us have our own opinion." As he spoke, Director Huang glanced at his watch and said to Dudu, "Dudu, you take Brother Su around the house and chat for a while. I'll go help your mom with the chores. Otherwise she won't be able to manage alone." After Director Huang entered the kitchen, Dudu looked at Su Aohan arrogantly and said, "My mom told me you're here to see my dad. I guess so. How old are you, can I ask that directly? They're just the same age, what's wrong with asking?" "Oh, age, I thought it was something else. I'm 19 this year." As Huang Dudu led Su Aohan upstairs, she heard Su Aohan's words and looked at him in surprise. Saying 19, just started college. Where did you get the nerve to come to my house to treat my dad? Do you even know what my dad does? Yes, I know. Your dad is the director of the Juu City Law Enforcement Bureau. Well, you knew that. Yet you still dared to come to my house to scam people. Aren't you afraid of going to jail? Su Aohan glanced indifferently at the surprised Huang Dudu and said, "Little bean who said I'm here to lie. I really am here to treat your dad. And I'll cure him completely." No sooner had Su Aohan finished speaking than he suddenly felt a cold gaze fixed on him. Turning his head, he saw Huang Dudu staring intently at him, which made Su Aohan feel a kind of pressure emanating from his very soul. "What did you just call me, little bean?" Su Aohan didn't know what he had said wrong, and he stammered a little because he was nervous. But as soon as he said it, he saw Huang Dudu's face turn red. I'm just as Su Ayahan was about to speak saw a straight, slender and fragrant long leg kicking towards him. Su Ayahan dodged to the side. But Huang Dudu was not giving up. She kicked at Su Ayahan again with great speed, using a taekwondo routine. Faced with the long legs attacking him one after another, Su Ayahan stopped dodging, reached out and grabbed Huang Dudu's ankle, and lifted him up, sizzle. The sound of clothes tearing rang out. Su Ayahan looked down and froze, almost spitting out a mouthful of blood. The scene fell into an eerie silence. Huang Dudu wished she could disappear into a mouse hole. Her face was flushed, and staring intently at Su Ayahan with a lecherous look in her eyes. Huang Dudu gritted her teeth and said, "Aren't you going to let go? Odd, it looks good, What's wrong? I said let go." Huang Dudu was practically grinding his teeth to powder when Su Ayahan realized what was happening and quickly let go, saying somewhat awkwardly, Dudu, I didn't mean to you. Before Su Ayahan could finish speaking, Huang Dudu had already slipped into the room next door. Huang Dudu, don't misunderstand. I didn't actually see anything. It's all a misunderstanding. Don't tell anyone about what happened today. Not a single person or I'll castrate you. Hearing the cold voice coming from the room, Su Ayahan felt a chill run down his spine, as if a cold aura was rising from his legs, making his anus feel cold. What's wrong? I don't know, nothing happened today. As soon as Su Ayahan finished speaking, Director Huang's voice came from downstairs. Su Ayahan took a step and directly crossed more than 10 steps, arriving downstairs in just 2 steps just then. Director Huang led an elderly man who looked to be in his 60s into the living room from the doorway. Brother Su, this is perfect. Let me introduce you. This is Sun Nuo, the president of the Juu City Traditional Huxia Medicine Association, and also the director of the Juu City Traditional Huxia Medicine Hospital. Old son, this is Brother Su Ayahan, whom I told you about. After carefully examining Su Ayahan and exchanging greetings, Sun Nuo spoke directly. Director Huang mentioned that Brother Su studies traditional Huxia medicine. I wonder who his teacher is. Hearing the tone of the other person, Su Ayahan knew that the old man in front of him did not believe him and even seemed to want to expose the young man's scam of using the name of traditional Huxia medicine to swindle people. I didn't have any formal teacher. I just learned some things from an old traditional Huxia medicine doctor in my village when I was a child. And then I consulted some ancient books and materials on my own, which led to my achievements today. In truth, Su Ayahan thought to himself, where did I learn from? I learned from all the famous doctors throughout Huxia history. It took me a month to achieve what I have today. Those books are the crystallization of our ancestors' wisdom. They can be said to embody the essence of thousands of years of Huxia medical practice. No sooner had Su Ayahan finished speaking than Sun Nuo asked a very simple question about traditional Huxia medicine. Young man, you just said you've achieved some success, which truly surprises this old man. Since you're so confident in yourself, let me ask you a simple question. How do you differentiate and treat cold toxins, dampness toxins, and heat toxins? After hearing Sun Nuo's words, Su Ayahan answered without the slightest hesitation. Cold toxicity is caused by cold pathogens entering the body, manifesting as fear of cold, aches and pains in the joints and muscles, pain that is fixed in location and worsens with exposure to cold, and stiffness and rigidity in the tendons and ligaments, mostly scattered in the joints. Treatment should focus on warming the meridians, dispelling cold, and relieving exterior symptoms by inducing sweating, such as grinding cedar fruit and steeping it in water. Moxibustion and cupping can also be used in conjunction with this treatment. Dampness heat is a disease caused by dampness invading the body. Common symptoms include joint pain, fixed body temperature, difficulty in bending and stretching, abdominal distension, a slippery or foreign body sensation in the mouth, a thick, yellow tongue coating, and itchy skin. Treatment options include medications that resolve dampness and detoxify, and dispel dampness and unblock the meridians. Heat toxicity is a disease caused by the accumulation of pathogenic heat. Symptoms include flushed face and red eyes, boils in carbonclesdry mouth with a strong odor, swollen and bleeding gumscanty dark urine constipation, and skin rashes. Treatment should include medications to clear heat and detoxify, or combined with acupuncture and bloodletting therapy, which can help dissipate heat toxicity symptoms in a short time. Su Aohan's 3 consecutive answers, though conventional, were the most practical and convenient treatment methods. If one didn't understand them, then one truly had the ability to articulate the differences between the 3 symptoms and the solutions in one breath. While Su Aohan was answering questions, Director Huang kept a close eye on Sun Nuo, wanting to know if Su Aohan was really capable, however. When Director Huang saw the surprised and astonished look on Sun Nuo's face, he instantly understood that Su Aohan definitely had something in his belly. Otherwise, it would be impossible for the director of the traditional Huxia medicine hospital to show such an expression. Having learned the truth, Director Huanga's the host, naturally could not allow Sun Nuo to continue testing or making things difficult for Su Aohan. Clap, 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 excellent brother Su. At such a young age, not only are you incredibly skilled, but you also possess profound knowledge of traditional Huxia medicine. You're truly a rare talent. The food will be ready soon. Let's sit down first. The 3 of us will have a small drink today. But please don't drink too much, Director Huang spoke. And Sun Nuo naturally understood his meaning, so she didn't ask any further questions. Instead, after taking her seat, she curiously asked, Brother Su, I've also treated Director Huang's illness, but the results weren't very good, or rather, there was almost no significant effect. I wonder what treatment method you plan to use. Acupuncture combined with simple Huxia herbal medicine. Upon hearing Su Aohan's words, Sun Nuo frowned and said, Currently, only 3 to 5 complete acupuncture techniques have been passed down across the 5 regions of Daxia. The northern region has the 9 bone strike needles. The southern region has the 3 reversing needles. And the eastern and central regions lack complete sets of acupuncture techniques. But they have preserved 8 of the 13 life-saving needles of the 5 elements. Although the western region's traditional Huxia medicine has become unorthodox and taken a different path, their ghostly heaven-connecting needle technique, combined with shamanistic medicine, has astonishing effects. I have a detailed understanding of all of these. As for treating Director Huang's illness, I'm afraid it's the wrong approach and I'm powerless to help. What Sun Nuo said is absolutely true. The acupuncture methods created by our Huxia ancestors, especially those that could create miracles, have all been lost. What remains is either incomplete or has long lost the essentials of the acupuncture techniques, making it impossible to cure diseases and save lives. Upon hearing Sun Nuo's words, Su Aohan smiled and shook his head, saying, The treasures passed down from our ancestors are priceless. Daxia is such a vast country, with countless masters and hermits living quietly on this land. How can Elder Sun be so certain that those powerful and mysterious acupuncture techniques have been lost? Su Aohan's words startled Sun Nuo, who then nodded and said, Brother Su's words make sense in that case. I happen to have brought a set of silver needles with me today. How about Brother Su let this old man see them? As she spoke, Sun Nuo took out a set of silver needles from a bag and carefully placed them in front of Su Aohan. The moment Su Aohan saw the silver needles, he glanced at Director Huang, meeting Su Aohan's gaze. Director Huang said with slight embarrassment, Brother Su, why don't you try it on me? It just so happens that I also need acupuncture to treat this illness. Sun Nuo stared intently at Su Aohan, wanting to know whether Su Aohan truly possessed the lost acupuncture technique or was simply exaggerating. Su Aohan nodded slightly and said to Director Huang, Please stay still when you're done, I'm about to begin. Upon seeing Director Huang nod, Su Aohan's hand flashed quickly, revealing that 7 of the silver needles that had been on the table were gone. Meanwhile, 7 silver needles were now arranged in a strange line on Director Huang's chest and abdomen. Trembling violently, Sun Nuo, initially startled by Su Ayahan's speed, paled when he saw the silver needles on Director Huang's body. He stood up, his lips trembling, and said, this is. What? Could it be the legendary 7-star reversal needle technique, which has been lost for nearly 1,000 years? An excited Sun Nuo looked at the trembling silver needles and leaned closer to examine them closely. The silver needles twinkled like stars, each spaced at varying intervals, arranged like the 7 stars in a constellation. This is absolutely the reverse 7-star needling technique, and the accuracy in locating acupoints, even through clothing, is truly unbelievable. Hearing Sun Nuo's words, Su Ayahan, who was standing to the side, thought to himself, holy crap, how could it not be accurate? I've been figuring it out with my own body for 2.5 years. As he spoke, Su Ayahan felt a faint chill. After all, he hadn't missed any place. He had practiced acupuncture and suffered quite a bit. Fortunately, nothing serious happened, but the thought of it still bothered him. Without thinking, Su Ayahan reached out and fiddled with his clothes to make himself more comfortable. But no one expected that Huang Dudu, who had just changed his pants, was coming downstairs and saw everything clearly. A blush crept across her face, and Huang Dudu rolled her eyes inwardly, cursing. He's obviously a scoundrelone of those thugs. A complete shameless scoundrel. At that moment, it was time to administer the acupuncture. Su Ayahan waved his hand, and the 7 silver needles instantly disappeared from Director Huang's body, returning to the needle pouch. This scene left Huang Dudu completely dumbfounded. You little rascal, turns out you're a trained fighter too. You're pretty fast, no wonder a 9th Dan Taekwondo practitioner couldn't land a kick on him earlier. After the acupuncture treatment was finished, Director Huang let out a deep breath, hurriedly got up and went to the restroom. A while later, Director Huang happily approached Su Ayahan and said, Brother Su, that's amazing. You cured me with just 1 acupuncture needle. That's incredible. Could you give me a few more acupuncture needles to solidify the effect? Director Huang's words shocked not only Sun Nuo, the elderly traditional Huxia medicine practitioner, but also Huang Dudu, who knew nothing about medicine, and the director's wife, who had just come out of the kitchen. How is this possible? So many hospitals and renowned doctors couldn't cure it, and a young man cured it with just a few needles. Is this little thug really that good? The most outrageous thing was that Sun Nuo, an old man in his 60s, the president of the Juu City Traditional Huxia Medicine Association and the director of the Traditional Huxia Medicine Hospital, knelt down in front of Su Ayahan with a thud while everyone was still in shock and said, I was blind to your greatness before and offended you greatly. I have just witnessed what true skill looks like. I humbly beg you to accept me as your disciple and pass on the art of Huxia medicine. I will dedicate the rest of my life to promoting the former glory of traditional Huxia medicine and carrying it forward. Sun Nuo's actions caught Su Ayahan off guard. After a moment of stunned silence, Su Ayahan quickly helped Sun Nuo up and said, This is unacceptable, you're shortening my lifespan. Director Huang, who was standing nearby, also rushed to help Sun Nuo up. Old son, let me tell you, Brother Su is my guest today, invited to treat my illness. He's a very important person to me, so you can't make things difficult for him. Otherwise, where will I put my face at this moment? Director Huang's wife also hurriedly stepped in to smooth things over, saying, all right, you grown men are acting like children. We'll talk about other things later. Dinner's ready, come and eat. The 5 people sat at the dining table, looking at the table full of dishes, and couldn't help but marvel at Director Huang's wife's extraordinary cooking skills. Su Ayahan was seated next to Huang Dudu. Huang Dudu's mother placed a chicken leg in Su Ayahan's bowl and said, Here, have a chicken leg and try your sister-in-law's cooking. Thank you, sister-in-law. This leg not only smells delicious and looks beautiful, it must taste amazing too. As soon as Su Ayahan finished speaking, he felt a hand suddenly rest on his leg. He looked at the delicate hand in confusion, then at Huang Dudu, who was smiling at him, and felt a surge of excitement in his heart. Holy crap, what is she trying to do? Her parents are still here, could it be? Just as Su Ayahan was lost in thought, incredibly excited, and on the verge of a fight, a sudden, excruciating pain shot through his leg, causing him to gasp in shock. Hiss. Everyone looked at Su Ayahan in surprise and said, "What happened to Brother Su? Is the food not to your liking?" Despite the excruciating pain shooting through his inner thigh, Su Ayahan managed a weak smile and said, "Oh, it's nothing. It's just that the chicken leg was so delicious. And I was a little hungry, so I got a bit excited." At this moment, Su Ayahan couldn't help but scream again. Sorry. My way of expressing emotions is a bit unconventional." Director Huang and his wife smiled and said after hearing Su Ayahan's words, "It's all right, I was worried you wouldn't like the food. Brother Su, if you like it, please eat more." Huang Dudu said with a smile, "Didn't you say this chicken leg is fragrant, looks good, and tastes delicious, then eat more?" As he spoke, Huang Dudu's voice was filled with a hint of gritted teeth, and he executed a 180-degree spin with the 9-yin white bone claw. "Come on, don't just focus on the food, try my wine. Let me tell you, Thai's wine is a mature vintage. Left over from my wedding, no one else can have a taste." Sun Nuo said with a smile, "Old Huang, I've come here so many times before, and you've never let me have a sip. Today Brother Su came, and you just pulled out a whole bottle. That's not very fair. Old Sun, stop talking with your alcohol tolerance. You'd be throwing up after a whole bottle. I can't take that responsibility. It's settled then, you only have 2 ounces today, no more." While the 2 people next to him were chatting animatedly, Su Ayahan, he picked up his wine glass, slowly placed his other hand under the table, and grabbed Huang Dudu's hand that was pinching his thigh. Huang Dudu blushed and tried to pull her hand away, but found it was no use, helpless. She could only let Su Ayahan hold her slender hand and keep groping in his palm. From that moment on, Huang Dudu ate very well, remaining silent, only occasionally showing a rosy complexion. Su Ayahan, on the other hand, ate heartily, chatting and laughing, and occasionally giving Huang Dudu a smug look. Although Su Ayahan had the upper hand, the meal was still nerve-wracking for him, especially in front of Huang Dudu's parents. Huang Dudu, on the other hand, was filled with shame and indignation. Only when Director Huang spoke did Su Ayahan release Huang Dudu's hand and return to the living room. Huang Dudu watched Su Ayahan's fleeing figure, smiled at first, then looked at her hands and murmured, "You little rascal, how dare you grab my hand for so long, and even poke between my fingers? Don't let yourself fall into my hands or you'll regret it." In the living room, seeing that his wife and daughter weren't around, Director Huang leaned closer to Su Ayahan and whispered, "Brother Su, am I all better now? Will I be able to dominate the battlefield tonight and reclaim my position in the family? Brother Su, am I all better now? Will I be able to dominate the battlefield tonight and reclaim my position in the family?" Upon hearing Director Huang's words, Su Ayahan smiled and shook his head, saying, "The previous acupuncture only brought your body back to normal. You still need to drink 3 doses of medicine to consolidate the results and ensure a full recovery. Director Huang, please be patient for a few more days. Don't let all your previous efforts go to waste." Director Huang nodded and said, "Okay, a few days will pass quickly. What medicine should I take?" Su Ayahan took a piece of white paper from the side, wrote down more than 10 kinds of Huxia medicine and their quantities on it, and handed it to Director Huang, saying, "Take 3 doses of the same medicine. Boil 3 bowls of water down to 1 bowl, and drink it all at once after it has cooled to a warm temperature. Remember, it's most effective to drink it in the morning when the yang energy is just beginning to rise." When does the yang energy first rise? When is that? It's when the sun has just risen in the morning, and auspicious purple clouds appear in the east. Okay, I understand, thank you, Brother Su, Sun Nuo, who was standing nearby. After reading Su Ayahan's prescription and hearing the theory of the rising yang energy, looked on with admiration and said, "Wonderful. Wonderful." Traditional Huxia medicine emphasizes not only the synergistic effects of different herbs, but also their ability to counteract each other. Furthermore, the 12 two-hour periods of the day correspond to the heavenly stems and earthly branches, which are closely related to the 5 internal organs of the human body. Even the breath has its own rhythm. You were able to maximize the power of the medicine using the rising yang energy of heaven and earth. I've only ever seen descriptions of these things in ancient books before. Today has truly opened my eyes, Mr. Sun, you flatter me. Actually, these things are described in many ancient Huxia texts. Simply put, it means that humans and nature should live in harmony, going with the flow rather than trying to outdo each other. Director Huang carefully placed the prescription written by Su Ayahan into his identification card. Put it in his pocket and happily said to Sun Nuo, "Old Master Sun, is Brother Su's medical skill all right? More than that, with just that acupuncture skill alone, he could easily sit firmly in the top 3 of traditional Huxia medicine in Daxia." Director Huang hadn't expected Sun Nuo to have such a high opinion of Su Ayahan. Even placing him among the top 3 in Huxia medicine, this was quite astonishing. After all, Daxia has 2 great masters of traditional Huxia medicine, known as the Southern Medical Sage and the Northern Ghost Hand. These 2 can be said to be the pinnacle of traditional Huxia medicine in the 5 regions of Daxia today. However, these 2 are usually based in Beijing and have extraordinary status. It is simply impossible for ordinary people to invite them. This has greatly increased Su Ayahan's importance in Director Huang's mind. "All right, it's good that you approve, old man Sun. Brother Su doesn't have a medical license yet, so you'll have to handle this matter as you see fit." Upon hearing Director Huang's words, Sun Nu's eyes lit up, and he said to Su Ayahan, "The medical license is easy to obtain after all. Brother Su's medical skills speak for themselves. I just wonder if Brother Su could get a position at the traditional Huxia Medicine Hospital." After Sun Nuo finished speaking, seeing that Su Ayahan showed no expression, she hurriedly added, "Oh, Brother Su, please don't misunderstand. Having a nominal position is just to give you a legitimate title. You don't need to go to work normally. We'll only contact you if there are very special circumstances." What do you think? Su Ayahan didn't care about this at all. After Alan Su Ayahan's view, being able to promote and develop traditional Huxia medicine was a meritorious deed. This wasn't because Su Ayahan had any lofty ideas. It was simply the benevolence in the bones of a Huxia person acting up. Besides, since they're giving me face, I should also be considerate. Even if Su Ayahan has some extraordinary encounters and abilities, he can't make enemies all over the world. That's no problem, I have nothing else to do anyway. Sun Nuo was overjoyed to hear Su Ayahan agree. After noting down Su Ayahan's contact information and requesting his details, she excitedly left Director Huang's house. Seeing that it was getting late, Su Ayahan took his leave. During this time, Director Huang thanked Su Ayahan several times and arranged for Huang Dudu to see him off. "Honey, it seems you're intentionally letting our daughter interact with Su Ayahan. You're not trying to make her throw herself at you, are you? Wife, this Su Ayahan is no ordinary man. He possesses many unbelievable abilities. I feel it's only a matter of time before he soars to great heights. It's our daughter's blessing to be with him." "How can you talk about your daughter like that? Our daughter is beautiful, has a great figure, and is talented in both academics and martial arts. Whoever marries my daughter is very lucky. Women shouldn't meddle, hurry up and get ready. I'm going to the pharmacy to get the medicine. In a couple of days, I'm going to reclaim my position as head of the household." Director Huang's words made his wife's eyes light up, and a hint of moisture rose in her eyes. After giving Director Huang a shy glance, she obediently went to clean up the pots and pans. Upon seeing this, Director Huang immediately straightened his back, and the aura of the head of the family reappeared after many years. At the doorway, Huang Dudu walked a little behind Su Ayahan. Seeing that her father hadn't followed, she suddenly kicked Su Ayahan. You little rascal, I'll kick you to death, Zhu Ayahan. As if he had eyes in the back of his head, turned to the side and took a step forward. Already 5 meters away, Huang Dudu froze on the spot, staring at Zhu Ayahan in surprise. How did you manage to dodge it? Zhu Ayahan was genuinely afraid of a witch like Huang Dudu. After all, constantly guarding against sneak attacks was exhausting. Little bean, no need to see me off. Thank you for your help today. You have a great figures, you look really good, goodbye. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhu Ayahan turned and ran. He was so fast that Huang Dudu didn't even have time to react and stood there stunned for a long time. You filthy scoundrel, you shameless scoundrel. Next time I see you, I'll show you what I'm capable of. I'll break you in two, humps. Inside the Luo family villa in Juu City. Because the hospital was unable to determine the cause of Luo Jihu's symptoms, Luo Zhuang took him home and hired professional caregivers to look after him. Looking at Luo Jihu lying motionless on the bed, Luo Zhuang's face was gloomy. How's the contact going? Chairman Liu, besides those so-called experts from before, we've invited the directors and renowned doctors from all the major hospitals in Juu City. Okay. Tell them that whoever can find the cause of the illness will be rewarded with 3 million. And whoever can cure my son will be rewarded with 10 million. Throughout the entire medical system of Juu City, everyone knew about the Luo family's affair. Some even couldn't resist the temptation of money and wanted to visit them, but were ultimately stopped by their colleagues. Many people understand that the more money offered, the more complicated the situation is. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Throughout the entire day, at least 80 to 100 doctors went in and out of the Luo family villa. It could be said that the entire director of Juu City Hospital and some specialized medical professionals had examined Luo Jihu's condition. And in the end, they all gave the same result, shaking their heads and indicating that they simply could not see the cause. Chairman Luo, why don't we send our young master to the capital? We can try to find someone there. Maybe we can pull some strings and get the southern medical sage or the northern ghost hand to help. Then our young master's illness can be cured. Unexpectedly upon hearing his secretary's words, Luo Zhuang was also moved and hurriedly spoke up. I almost forgot, if Western medicine doesn't work, we can try traditional Huxia medicine. Quickly find the best TCM doctor in Juu City. Who is the best traditional Huxia medicine doctor in Juu City? The generally accepted answer is Sun Nuo, the president of the Traditional Huxia Medicine Association and the director of the Traditional Huxia Medicine Hospital. Luo Zhuang used his connections to contact Sun Nuo. After hearing about Luo Jihu's strange symptoms, Sun Nuo was also very curious, and because of her friend, she gladly went to see him. Luo Zhuang had high hopes for Sun Nuo's arrival. He believed that even if the condition couldn't be cured, at least they would know the cause. When Sun Nuo met Luo Jihu, she first examined his facial features, then took his pulse. After completing this process, Sun Nuo's brows furrowed tightly. Seeing this, Luo Zhuang, who was standing nearby, asked anxiously, President Sun, how is it? What exactly is wrong with my son? Sun Nuo frowned and thought for a long time before speaking. Has your son offended someone? Dean Sun, what do you mean by that? Your son isn't ill. In my humble opinions, his meridians have likely been sealed using a very special method. It seems the other party intends to torture him. And there's something I must tell you beforehand. If the seal on your son isn't removed within 5 to 8 days, at best his meridians will die. Leaving him in a vegetative state, at worst could die. Upon hearing Sun Nuo's words, Luo Zhuang was stunned. He hadn't expected this outcome. After a moment of contemplation, he coldly said, Since Chairman Sun has figured it out, please treat my son. Money is not an issue. Sun Nuo shook his head and said, Chairman Luo, you flatter me too much. Although I can see some problems with your son, I don't have the ability to treat them. This has nothing to do with money, however. There is someone in Juu City who might be able to treat your son's problem. Upon hearing Sun Nuo's words, Luo Zhuang's face lit up with joy and he hurriedly asked, Who is it? This person is Su Ayahan. He's a young man. But despite his young age, his medical skills are extremely high, especially his acupuncture treatments, which are truly masterful with him involved. I believe there's at least an 80% chance of success. No sooner had Sun Nuo finished speaking than Luo Zhuang frowned and said, "Is the Su Ayahan that Chairman's son mentioned 19 years old this year?" Sun Nuo nodded and said, "That's right. Could it be that Chairman Luo also knows young friend Su?" Luo Zhuang said with a gloomy face, "Of course I know him. How could I not know him? My son is in this state most likely thanks to Su Ayahan." Upon hearing Luo Zhuang's words, Sun Nuo finally understood that there was probably a personal grudge involved, and it might even be an irreconcilable feud. Sun Nuo already greatly admired Su Ayahan and was incredibly excited that such a peerless genius had emerged in the field of traditional Huxia medicine. He wasn't familiar with Liu Zhuang either, having only been introduced to it by a friend. Therefore, Sun Nuo stood up and said, "Consider myself as if I, son, never came farewell." Watching Sun Nuo's departing figure, Luo Zhuang's eyes gleamed with a sharp light just then. The secretary entered through the door, bowing and whispering, "Chairman Luo. It seems this Sun Nuo and Su Ayahan have a close relationship. Should we send someone to follow him and teach them a lesson?" "No need, it's pointless, you can leave now." After the secretary left, Luo Zhuang dialed Kai Kun's number. "Find me a way to break Su Ayahan's legs, then bring him to me. Remember, keep both his hands." After leaving the Luo Zhuang villa, Sun Nuo dialed Su Ayahan's number. "Young friend Su, this is Sun Nuo. I have something to tell you. I just went to the villa in Luo village, and he said that you were the one who sealed the meridians in his son's body." Upon hearing Sun Nuo's words, Su Ayahan smiled and said, "Thank you for telling me this, elder son. Yes, it was me who sealed Luo Jihu's meridians." Upon hearing what Su Ayahan said, even the shrewd old man Sun Nuo immediately understood and said seriously, "Brother Su, I don't know Luo Zhuang or his son. I only went to visit out of courtesy to a friend. Besides, I don't have the ability to treat him. Oh. By the way, Brother Zumi medical license will be ready soon. I'll send it to you then." In a sauna center in the northern district of Juu City, the air was thick with mist, like the Queen Mother of the West's peach banquet. In a hot spring pool, Kai Kun, wearing a thick gold chain, was soaking with two people sitting on either side of him. "Brother Kunyu said that Luo village doesn't pay us, and they keep making us deal with Su Ayahan. More than 10 of our brothers who were injured last time haven't fully recovered yet." Kai Kun, with a cold expression, looked at the man who had spoken and said, "You have a problem with that. Okay, Agu, call Luo Zhuang right now, Brother Kun. You, then I'll really hit him, go ahead and fight." Upon hearing Kai Kun's words, the man stood up from the pool with a splash and waved to the man standing at the door not far away. He took the phone from the man and dialed Luo Zhuang's number directly. "Hello, Chairman Luo, this is Ah Gaon of Brother Kun's men." "No, Brother Kun doesn't know. I called you because I wanted to tell you that last time dozens of brothers were injured because of that Su Ayahan, and the medical expenses alone amounted to hundreds of thousands. This time, Brother Kun said that he's going to take action against Su Ayahan again. And the brothers are worried, Chairman Luo. Although Brother Kun hasn't said anything negative, and you've known him for a long time. I've been working for him for 8 years. I'm calling you today because I want to tell you that you're somewhat taking advantage of Brother Kun. Aren't you? This is just my personal opinion. I just feel it's unfair to Kun, 30 million meanwhile." Kai Kun was comfortably lying in the pool, his eyes half closed. When he heard Agu say the words 30 million, Kai Kun suddenly opened his eyes and held up a finger at Agu. Agao, who was on the phone, was stunned for a moment when he saw Kai Kun's gesture, then spoke into the phone, "Chairman Luo. The 30 million I mentioned earlier was for the operation itself. You need to understand that Su Ayahan is not easy to deal with, and our brothers will inevitably face mortal danger during this operation. Therefore, the total cost is 100 million. After Agu hung up the phone, he excitedly said to Kai Kun, "Brother Kun, it's done, 100 million. 30 million is the deposit." Just as Agu finished speaking, the man who had been standing at the door rushed over and said, "Brother Kun, your phone is ringing." Kai Kun glanced at his phony smile playing on his lips and answered the call. "Hey, Mr. Luo. Oh, I'm not aware of this matter. I'll deal with Agu later. He's incredibly audacious and reckless as for the money. Since my men all know I can't interfere. Otherwise, I'll alienate them. I hope you can understand that, Boss Luo. Besides, 100 million isn't much to you, Boss Luo. It. Don't worry, Kai Kun me in what I say. And I'll act immediately." After hanging up the phone, Kai Kun smiled and said to Agu, "You secretly raised the price at Luo Jihu. As punishment, I'm arranging 3 girls for you today. Come out when your legs go weak." Meanwhile, in Luo Jihu's villa, Luo Jihu's face was gloomy after hanging up the phone. "Chairman Luo, is Kai Kun trying to set us up?" Luo Jihu tapped his fingers on the table and said coldly, "If the big boss doesn't step forward, let the small fry take the place. A mere nobody like Agu doesn't have the guts. I believe they were together when I made that phone call. That Kai Kun playing hard to get with me. Once this is done, I'll see how you disappear from Juu City." Su Ahan returned to his rented room and immediately entered his small world to begin cultivating. After all, Su Ahan understood that only with great strength could one stand undefeated in this world. Meanwhile, Kai Kun's men had secretly found out where Su Ahan was and even saw him enter the room. As night fell, Kai Kun and more than 10 people appeared on the street where Su Ahan's house was located. At the entrance of the residential compound, the security guard saw Kai Kun and his dozen or so menacing figures and didn't dare to say a word, let alone step forward to stop them. "Remember, administer the medication first. That kid is too skilled, you can't handle him. Incapacitate him first. Then break his legs and take him away. Brother Kun, don't worry. With you personally leading the charge this time, it'll be a piece of cake and we're perfectly prepared. We have not only the medicine but also this," as Agu spoke. He lifted the corner of his shirt revealing a gun. Seeing this, Brother Kun nodded, indicating that they could proceed. Agu led more than 10 people straight to Su Ahan's room. When they arrived at the doors, they used the tools they had prepared beforehand to blow the sleeping potion into the room. During this time, Agu and the others all wore masks. When the time came, one of them took out a special tool and opened the door directly, and more than 10 people rushed in. But when they entered the room, they found it empty. Su Ahan was nowhere to be seen and even the bed was cold. "Nobody's here, damn it, what's going on?" Agu angrily grabbed one of the men and asked him, "Brother Dog's ice, I don't know either. I saw him enter here with my own eyes and he never left." "Damn it, you useless piece of trash," Su Ahan didn't leave. "Did he jump out of the window? This is the 6th floor." As Agu spoke, he shoved the man aside, took out his phone, and dialed Kai Kun's number. As Agu spoke, he shoved the man aside, took out his phone, and dialed Kai Kun's number. "Hey Kun, there's no one in the room." "Okay, I understand." After hanging up the phone, Agu said to everyone, "Don't mess up the house. Restore everything that's been touched to its original state." After restoring the room to its original state, everyone left. Little did they know that everything they did was seen clearly by Su Ahan, who was inside the small world. "Looks like Luo Jihu wants to kidnap me to treat Luo Jihu's illness. The time I'll treat your son will be the time you show up before me." The next day, Su Ahan continued his secluded cultivation in the small world, studying astronomical divination and the ways of supernatural powers and spells. Meanwhile, Agu and his men waited for Su Ahan's appearance downstairs and at the entrance of the residential area. During this time, they even entered Su Ahan's room several times to check. But unfortunately, they never saw Su Ahan. "Damn it, have you come to the wrong place? Brother Gu, that's impossible. I saw him enter here clearly and I even asked the landlord. The person living here is named Su Ahan. That's really strange. Could it be that this kid is no longer in Juu City? At the same time inside the Luozhuang Villa Luo Jihu, lying on the bed was completely unable to move. And even eating was extremely difficult for him, which made Luozhuang unable to wait any longer. Luozhuang, who was originally full of confidence, had no choice but to go to Su Ayahan in person, after all. Face and dignity were worthless in the face of his son's life. At the entrance of Su Ayahan's residential compound, Luo Jihu, accompanied by his secretary and 2 bodyguards, got out of the car while Kai Kun, who already knew about it, also came to greet them with his men. Ha 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 ha, boss Luo, you don't believe me, Kai Kun. It's not that I don't trust you, but Jia Hui can't wait any longer, you understand. As for the 30 million I'm giving you, consider it compensation for the injuries our brothers sustained. Upon hearing Luo Zhuang's words, Kai Kun's smile turned cold, and he pointed to the dozens of people behind him saying, "It's been days and the brothers haven't even blinked. Kai Kun may not have any special skills, but I absolutely keep my promises to the brothers. A man's word is his bond, don't you think, boss Luo?" Luo Zhuang looked at Kai Kun with a smile and said, "We've been working together for many years. I know your methods all too well. Let's not talk about anything else for now. Take me to see Su Ayahan." "Su Ayahan isn't home, we've been waiting for him to appear." Luo Zhuang frowned but remained silent. Kai Kun, seeing this, smirked and said to Agu beside him. Agu's led the way. Luo Zhuang then turned his gaze to Agao, gave him a deep look, and then followed him toward the house where Su Ayahan was. When Kai Kun and Luo Zhuang followed Agu and the others to Su Ayahan's room, they saw Su Ayahan sitting in the room smoking. Agu stood frozen in place, staring at Su Ayahan in shock. The man who had been keeping watch was trembling slightly, completely unable to understand what had gone wrong. At that moment, they looked at Su Ayahan as if they had seen a ghost, their eyes filled with doubt and shock. Kai Kun looked at Agu with suspicion and coldness in his eyes, while Luo Zhuang looked at Kai Kun in that brief moment. Because of Su Ayahan, everyone in front of them fell into mutual suspicion. "Brother Kun," just as Agu was about to speak, Kai Kun waved him off, saying to Luo Zhuang, "Boss Luo, let's deal with the important matters first. I'll give you an explanation for the rest later." Looking at the people in front of him, Su Ayahan said with a smile, "Wow, it's really lively here today, so many people have come. But my place is too small and space is limited, so I'll have to trouble everyone to stand." Luo Zhuang completely ignored Su Ayahan's teasing and coldly said, "So you're Su Ayahan, my son became like this because of you. Who are you and who is your son?" A cold glint flashed in Luo Zhuang's eyes, and he said in a low voice, "My name is Luo Zhuang and my son is Luo Jihu." Su Ayahan said with a look of sudden realization, "Gary Locke, we had a bit of a falling out before. He cracked my skull open and you took my job. You and your father are really something. But you can't just say whatever you want. What Gary Locke is like now has absolutely nothing to do with me. We're all adults, so let's skip the small talk. What are your demands?" Su Ayahan stubbed out his cigarette in the ashtray and suddenly became extremely serious, saying, "If you want to treat your son, I do know a little medicine. 300 million I want cash, hiss." Upon hearing Su Ayahan's words, everyone around was utterly shocked and gasped in astonishment. Let alone ordinary people. Even for a shady tycoon like Kai Kun, 300 million in cash is a huge sum of money. So everyone's expressions when they looked at Su Ayahan conveyed the same message: Su Ayahan has gone mad. Luo Zhuang remained completely still throughout. But upon hearing Su Ayahan mention 300 million in cash, he couldn't help but frown and his lips twitched. "Kid, 300 million in cash. I wonder if you can handle it all. Be careful not to overeat. Whether I can eat it or not is my business. If you want me to sell, this is the price. As for the rest, that's none of Mr. Luo's concern." Kai Kun, standing to the side, glanced at Su Ayahan, then at Luo Zhuang, and was about to speak when Agu suddenly pulled out a gun, pointed it at Su Ayahan and said, Kids, you don't know what death means, do you? Believe me or not, I'll shoot you dead. Agu's sudden outburst plunged the scene into complete silence. Facing the gun, Su Ayahan's face turned cold. And he looked at Agu and said calmly, "Do you believe I can kill you before you fire a shot?" As Su Ayahan spoke, an aura emanated from him, mysterious and profound, making Agu opposite him feel as if he were being watched by a ferocious beast. Even Luo Zhuang and Kai Kun felt completely overwhelmed by Su Ayahan's aura. "Put down your gun now and you might still have a chance." Su Ayahan spoke again, and Agu's hand holding the gun trembled, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. However, after all, he was a man who had been fighting and killing in the underworld for decades, and his mental fortitude was stronger than that of ordinary people. "Kid, you trying to scare me? Let's see if you're faster than my bullet." As he was speaking, Agu was about to fire his gun when, at the same moment, Su Ayahan moved with a loud bang. Before anyone could react, Agu was sent flying, crashing into the wall not far behind him, spitting out blood. And passing out, Su Ayahan stood in his previous spot, seemingly unmoved, but he was holding a gun in his hand. This speed so fast that no one could see it, along with its immense power, gave Kai Kun a new understanding of Su Ayahan's strength, and a different expression appeared in his eyes. At the same time, Luo Zhuang looked at Su Ayahan with disbelief in his eyes, while his two bodyguards stared at Su Ayahan in shock, standing on either side of Luo Zhuang guard with tension. "You're asking for it. I've said everything I needed to say. This is my phone number. Call me when you've thought it through. If there's nothing else, you can leave now. I need to sleep." Luo Zhuang glanced coldly at Su Ayahan, then at the gun in Su Ayahan's hand, before turning and leaving Su Ayahan's room. Luo Zhuang's secretary took the slip of paper with a phone number written on it from Su Ayahan and also hurriedly left. Kai Kun waved his hand, signaling several of his men to carry the unconscious Agu out. Then looking at Su Ayahan, he said, "If we weren't on opposing sides, I believe we could sit down and have a drink together. You're not on my side. You're just on my side of self-interest. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't become a victim of someone else's struggle." Kai Kun has been in the underworld for over 10 years and has encountered far too many scheming and backstabbing incidents. Otherwise, he wouldn't have achieved his current status. How could he not understand what Su Ayahan just said? Kai Kun gave Su Ayahan a deep look, then left with his men. He seemed to want to say something before leaving, but he didn't speak after everyone left. Su Ayahan looked at the gun in his hand, then put it into his own little world. After closing the door, he continued to cultivate in his little world. Luo Zhuang was in the car with a gloomy face. His secretary didn't dare to say a word. In the extremely quiet car, Luo Zhuang suddenly spoke. "Do you think private gun ownership is enough to warrant a few years in jail?" Luo Zhuang's words startled the secretary. Her mind raced, and in the blink of an eye, she understood what Luo Zhuang meant. She took out her phone and made a call. Luo Zhuang maintained a gloomy expression throughout. After his secretary hung up the phone, he said coldly, "Arrange it in advance. I want him to kneel before me to treat Jia Hui." "Chairman Luo, I understand." After receiving a phone call, Deputy Director Tian of the Law Enforcement Bureau immediately led 6 of his trusted confidants and sped towards the residential area where Su Ayahan was located. However, when Deputy Director Tian led his men to Su Ayahan's room, there was no one inside. Moreover, after searching the entire room, Deputy Director Tian still couldn't find the gun that Secretary Luo Zhuang had mentioned. "Chief, there's nothing there. Could there be a mistake?" "Impossible. Su Ayahan must have been carrying a gun. Immediately check the community's surveillance footage to see where he went." After an investigation, Deputy Director Tian couldn't believe it, because there was no sign of Su Ayahan leaving at any of the entrances to the residential area. "Chief, we have checked the surrounding intersections, but Su Ayahan isn't there." Deputy Director Tian took out his phone and made a call. "No one's inside. There's no sign of a gun. and the surrounding security cameras don't show him leaving at all. Are you sure you're not mistaken? This matter is easy to resolve. It just depends on whether you're willing to back down first. We can settle other issues later. Inside the villa in Luo Jihu, who had just hung up the phone, was filled with shock and deep apprehension. He simply couldn't understand how Su Ayahan had mysteriously disappeared despite being under surveillance everywhere. After a long while, Luo Jihu sighed deeply and said, "How's the contact with Kyoto going?" "Chairman Luo, I just finished a call with them. They said it's not about the amount of money, but rather that the Southern Medical Sage and Northern Ghost Hand are simply not people who can be hired by ordinary people. Many people in the traditional Huxia medicine community know these two, but almost no one can actually get them to come." Luo Jihu shook his head and, with no other choice, picked up the slip of paper on the table and dialed the number on it. "Su Ayahan, I agree, 300 million. I'll send it to you right now. You need to come and get my son treated immediately." When Su Ayahan received Luo Jihu's call and heard the other party mention 300 million, he simply said, "Mr. Liu, it was 300 million before. But then the enforcement team searched my house again. And now I'm very unhappy. It's 500 million in cash, not a penny less. Put it in my house before 5 p.m. tonight or else." After speaking, Su Ayahan hung up the phone immediately. On the other end, Luo Jihu's eyelids twitched incessantly. He smashed his phone in his hand and coldly said, "Luo Jihu, have never suffered such humiliation in Juu City. Prepare 500 million yuan in cash immediately and send it to Su Ayahan's house. Chairman Luo, we can't give in to that kid otherwise. I'll get the Dark Knight people to take care of him." As the secretary was speaking, she made a cutting motion on her neck, when Luo Jihu suddenly slapped her across the face. "Zmag, you know I'm going to cover your retreat, you be *****D. Get back to getting ready." The secretary was slapped and trembled with fear. Without thinking, she immediately went out to make arrangements. After venting his anger in Luo Jihu, he became remarkably calm, as if his powerful aura had returned before 5 o'clock. A full 500 million yuan in cash was placed in Su Ayahan's room, taking up a full fifth of the room's space. This greatly shocked Su Ayahan, who had never seen so much money in his life. With a wave of his hand, Su Ayahan directly stored all 500 million in cash into his small world. Just then Su Ayahan received a call from Luo Jihu. "The money is already at your house. When are you coming to treat my son? Send me your location. For the sake of 500 million. I'll go over there right now to see your son," to Su Ayahan now. The Luo family father and son are like meat rotten in a pot, at his mercy. But the Luo family father and son don't know this. They just feel that as long as Luo Jihu's symptoms are treated, everything will be up to them. That sense of superiority is impossible to eradicate. When Su Ayahan arrived at the gate of the Luo family villa, he was also shocked by the magnificent villa. This was the life Su Ayahan had longed for before, however. For Su Ayahan, who had now had a fortuitous encounter, he would rather return to Nilang village, where he grew up and lived like a salted fish, close to nature, growing vegetables and raising fish every day, and then cultivating. Su Ayahan stepped towards the villa entrance, but was stopped by two men who appeared to be bodyguards. "Excuse me, it's standard procedure to check this." Although the two spoke politely, it was still unacceptable to Su Ayahan. He glanced at them calmly and said, "Excuse me, I don't have the habit of letting men search me. Since I'm not welcome here, I'll leave." Su Ayahan had barely finished speaking when a furious shout came from inside the villa. "You two go guard the backyard, you have no eyesight." As the words fell, Luo Jihu arrived at the villa's entrance, coldly staring at Su Ayahan as if trying to see right through him. "Su Ayahan, that you're here, I won't waste any more words. Get on with my son's treatment." Su Ayahan didn't care. When he arrived at Luo Jihu's bedside, he saw that Luo Jihu was extremely haggard. Although he couldn't move, his mind was very clear, especially upon seeing Su Ayahan arrive. Luo Jiahui's eyes flashed with anger. He wanted to yell at Su Ayahan, but he couldn't utter a sound. Faced with this scene, Su Ayahan squatted down with a smile, looked at Luo Jihu and said in a low voice, "How was it? Did it feel incredibly comfortable? Let me tell you, I did all of this. I said I'd make the Luo family father and son feel utter despair." When Su Ayahan got to this point, Luo Jiahui's eyes were filled with overwhelming rage. If looks could kill, Su Ayahan would have been torn to pieces. "How about it, want to kill me, huh? Tusk, 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 too bad you can't move, and if I don't intervene, you won't live more than 5 days, believe it or not. Your dad gave me 500 million in cash to save you. So how am I supposed to spend it?" Su Ayahan's words made Luo Jiahui so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. Luo Zhuang, standing to the side, coldly said to Su Ayahan, "What are you doing? When will treatment begin? Don't worry, I'm detoxing your son right now, look." Even after he spat out that mouthful of blood, the murderous intent in his eyes is gone. HMPH, Su Ayahan. "If anything happens to my son, even if it costs the entire Luo family's assets, you won't leave here alive today, so powerful. You and your father, the Luo family, are really cut from the same cloths. But I won't hold it against you, you can leave now. No one is allowed in the room while I'm treating you. And no one is allowed to come in no matter what happens. Otherwise, don't blame me if anything goes wrong." Left with no other choice, Luo Zhuang had more than 10 bodyguards guard all the windows and doors of the villa. Inside the room, Su Ayahan looked at Luo Jiahui on the bed. And suddenly a tree branch about the thickness of a thumb appeared in his hand, covered with many protruding thorns. "Young Master Luo, please bear with it. Although my treatment method is very painful, it is very effective. You will be free to move around tomorrow." As he spoke, Su Ayahan raised the tree branch high and brought it down directly onto Luo Jiahui on the bed. Su Ayahan's raised branch landed all over Luo Jiahui's body. Leaving red marks, Luo Jiahui was unable to move. His eyes filled with anger and a murderous glint. But as time went on, fear and pleading appeared in Luo Jiahui's eyes. He was truly afraid that Su Ayahan would beat him to death, especially since this was his home and his father was right outside the door. This feeling terrified Gary Locke to the extreme, and also generated immense resentment within him. After fighting for a while, Su Ayahan stopped. The branch in his hand disappeared, and he slowly squatted down, saying to Luo Jiahui, "How are you feeling? Is the pain bearable?" With a smile, Su Ayahan activated his internal energy technique, drawing out the true energy that was sealing Luo Jiahui's meridians. He then got up and opened the doors. "The treatment is complete, and your son will regain his mobility tomorrow." Luo Zhuang didn't rush into the room to see his son, but instead looked intently at Su Ayahan and said, 500 million if my son still has any problems. You should know that my anger is not so easily contained." Su Ayahan said with a smile, "Let's see the results tomorrow. Perhaps Boss Luo wants to keep me here. There's no need for that. There are plenty of ways to find someone in this world, no matter where they hide." Faced with Luo Zhuang's icy voice, Su Ayahan curled his lip and said, "Let me give you a piece of advice, you two father and son would be better off keeping a lower profile. You should try to control your tempers, or you'll easily suffer the consequences. Goodbye." Watching Su Ayahan leave the villa, Luo Zhuang waved his hand, and one of the villa's bodyguards, a man in his 30s, came to Luo Zhuang. "Give me men to keep an eye on him. Remember, don't alert him. Make sure you know exactly where he went." This bodyguard was the person Luo Zhuang trusted most, and also the most capable. He had participated in wars overseas, single-handedly killing 6 fully armed enemy soldiers, and all with his bare hands. He could be described as a highly skilled and clear-headed battlefield expert. After leaving the Luo family villa, Su Ayahan bought some food and a small cake on the way back to his residence. Because today was Su Ayahan's birthday, and after this birthday he would be a year older. Looking at the small cakes and various delicacies in front of him, Su Ayahan let out a deep breath and murmured, Happy birthday, hi, I'm so tempting. No one knew that Su Ayahan had not completely cured Luo Jihu. Because Su Ayahan knew that Luo Zhuang would definitely take action after Luo Jihu recovered. Therefore, Luo Jihu had two streams of true energy in his body. Su Ayahan only extracted one, which was enough for Luo Jihu to recover to normal in a short time. This was also a backup plan that Su Ayahan had left, because he knew very well that the Luo family father and son would not give up so easily. Su Ayahan, however, did not intend to let the matter rest. He wanted to make this arrogant father and son feel despair. At the same time, inside the Juu City Law Enforcement Bureau, Director Huang was listening to Captain Wang report on a secret matter. You mean Deputy Director Tian led a group of people to Su Ayahan's place? That's right, but it seems they didn't find anyone and then returned. There's no record of law enforcement being deployed. Director Huang squinted and pondered for a moment before saying, "Summon that young Xiao, one of Director Tian's subordinates. Remember, don't let anyone know, not long after." A law enforcement officer arrived at Director Huang's office. "Director Huang, you wanted to see me, Xiao Zhao. How many years have you worked at the Law Enforcement Bureau?" "It's been 9 years. 9 years is a long time. Logically, with your experience and abilities, you should have been promoted to battalion commander long ago. But you're only a group leader now." Xiao Zhao glanced at Director Huang with surprise and then said, "Thank you for your kind words, Director Huang. I am very satisfied with my current job. Besides, serving the people is the same no matter where you are. And the position matters." "Xiao Zhao, I heard your family isn't well off either. These past few years, your son's illness has left you destitute. Have you ever thought about curing his illness?" Director Huang's words startled Xiao Zhao for a moment. Then he shook his head with a wry smile and said, "Director Huang, thank you for your concern. But there's no hope for my child's illness. All I want now is for him to live out the rest of his life in peace. I know someone who is confident he can cure your son's illness. Would you like to give it a try at this point?" Director Huang noticed a glimmer of light in Xiao Zhao's eyes and spoke again. "You've already reached the worst possible outcome. And the person I'm talking about has medical skills that rank among the top 3 in Daxia." This was personally stated by Sun Nuo, the president of the Huxia Medicine Association. Upon hearing what Director Huang said, Xiao Zhao could no longer remain calm. He abruptly stood up. His eyes filled with excitement and hope and said, "Director Huang, are you telling the truth?" "Little Xiao, I have no reason to lie to you, do I?" Xiao Zhao was incredibly excited at that moment. But he still looked at Director Huang and said, "Director Huang's, you called me here today for more than just this, didn't you?" "Xiao Zhao, you're a smart man. The reason I called you here today is because you upheld the bottom line for a member of the Law Enforcement Bureau. You understand what Deputy Director Tian did, don't you?" At this point, Director Huang paused, quietly awaiting Xiao Zhao's reply. After hesitating for a long time, Xiao Zhao finally made his choice. His son was more important than anything else. He sighed deeply and said, "Director Huang, actually I know very little. But there is one person who knows everything. And it seems that they are not a united front." "Who?" "Kai Kun." Xiao Zhao's words made Director Huang's eyes flash with a sharp light. He naturally understood that Kai Kun and Luo Zhuang had been cooperating for many years and had achieved mutual success. Deputy Director Tian was the most important person in providing convenience in the middle. However, Director Huang understood that if he made a move against Kai Kun, the pressure from Deputy Director Tian and the second-in-command of Juu City would definitely follow. Both overt and covert, if Kai Kun didn't utter a single word. And there wasn't enough time. It would alert the enemy and might cause Deputy Director Tian to take a risk. The next day, Su Ayahan cultivated in the small world, and the true energy in his body became stronger and stronger, steadily advancing towards the next level of the 9 heavens yin-yang Kainkun technique. Therefore, Su Ayahan also began to try his hand at the art of talismans. However, each attempt to draw a talisman ended in failure. or the brush used to draw the talisman simply couldn't withstand the infusion of Su Ayahan's internal energy and shattered directly. With a sigh, Su Ayahan left the small world just then. He received a call from Director Huang, asking for his help in treating a child's illness. At Jiu People's Hospital, Su Ayahan arrived at the ward where Officer Xiao's child was located, following the address given by Director Huang. But when Xiao saw Su Ayahan, he was filled with great suspicion. "Are you the doctor Director Huang recommended to treat my child?" Good. Upon hearing Su Ayahan's affirmative answer, Xiao frowned deeply. He felt deceived. Yet he also felt that Director Huang had no reason to do so. Thinking of this, Xiao gritted his teeth and said to Su Ayahan, "Please go in and check on my child's illness first." "Thank you." Although Officer Xiao said it, he didn't really have any hope. He was only doing this to save face for Director Huang. Su Ayahan naturally understood Xiao's thoughts. It was a sign that Xiao didn't trust him, however. This didn't matter to Su Ayahan, since he had only agreed to come because of Director Huang. "Okay, let me take a look at the child's illness first." Upon entering the wards, Su Ayahan saw an 8 or 9-year-old child lying on the bed, with dark red birthmark-like marks on the child's face and neck. With just one glance, Su Ayahan understood what disease the child had. It was a congenital condition of qi stagnation and blood stasis, leading to capillary hematoma caused by blocked meridians, which is what modern Western medicine calls a hemangioma. And it had already become malignant. Upon learning of the illness, Su Ayahan looked at the child on the hospital bed and nodded slightly, saying, "Fortunately, it's not too late. Not only can it be cured, but it can also remove the birthmarks on the face and neck." Su Ayahan's words made Xiao, who was following behind him, tremble. He looked at Su Ayahan in disbelief and said, "What did you say? You said you could cure my child and remove the birthmark on his face." "Yes, is there a problem? You can tell just by looking at it. Shouldn't you check it carefully?" Su Ayahan smiled slightly and said, "Traditional Huxia medicine emphasizes observation, listening, questioning, and palpation. Sometimes a single glance is enough to diagnose something. If you trust Director Huang, I can treat your child right now. But if you don't trust me, then I can't do anything. And it'll only be a hardship for the child." After hesitating for a long time, Xiao made a phone call. Not long after, a rather haggard-looking woman came to the ward, carrying a thermos lunchbox. When the woman saw the child on the hospital bed, tears welled up in her eyes. At that moment, Xiao came to her side and said, "Honey, this is the doctor Director Huang recommended to treat our son. Even in the worst-case scenario, this is the extent of his condition. Whether or not to treat him is up to you." The woman glanced at Su Ayahan, a clear hint of disappointment flashing in her eyes. Regardless of his age or anything else, then, after looking at the child on the bed, tears welled in her eyes as she said, "As long as there's even a glimmer of hope, I won't give up." Xiao sighed and could only nod at Su Ayahan. "Thank you for your help. If it were anyone else, Su Ayahan would have turned around and left. But since Director Huang had introduced him, Su Ayahan didn't care and had to give him some face. With one step, Su Ayahan arrived at the child's bedside, undressed him, removed the various IV needles, and with a flick of his wrist, the set of silver needles that Sun Nuo had given him last time appeared in his hand. The child's illness was congenital, and since the condition had worsened, Su Ayahan used a special acupuncture technique he had learned in the small world, the heaven-defying man 3 needles. This acupuncture technique is also derived from the concept of innate energy. Heaven is yang, earth is yin, and human beings separate them, which is the dynamic movement of innate energy. One needle to a person, and their vital energy soars to the heavens. A single needle from the earth, and the yin energy falls into the deepest hell. The heavenly needles. The yang qi vibrates through the triple burner. Su Ayahan swiftly applied 3 needles, each carrying a wisp of true energy. continuously vibrating the child's three major acupoints, with streams of energy flowing through the child's body along the meridians. As the three silver needles vibrated, the child on the hospital bed began to sweat profusely, the sweat containing a lot of dark red substance. Almost simultaneously, the child's eyes widened, and blood vessels appeared on the eyeballs. Upon seeing this, the child's mother, disregarding everything else, rushed forward with tears streaming down her face. Enforcement officer Xiao, standing nearby, quickly pulled her back. His eyes also filled with pity, and said, "Since you've decided to get treatment, don't do this." My child, Uaza. Su Ayahan remained unaffected and continued the treatment. Only after the three needles in the child's body stopped trembling did Su Ayahan remove them. All right, stop crying. The child will wake up soon and won't need to stay in the hospital anymore. He can go home directly, but he'll need traditional Huxia medicine to regulate his body. It will probably take about 10 days worth of medication for the marks on his face and neck to completely disappear. Upon hearing Su Ayahan's words, the law enforcement officers Xiao and his wife hurriedly got up and ran to the bedside, looking at their sleeping son with eyes full of love. Change the child's clothes, wipe his body, and while you're at it, get me some paper and a pen. I'll write you a prescription. Go to a traditional Huxia medicine shop, get the medicine, and follow the instructions and dosage. That should completely remove the things from your child's face. Just after Su Ayahan finished writing the prescription, a group of people burst into the ward, including doctors and security guards, who treated the patients at our hospital. One of the middle-aged men shouted angrily in the ward. Su Ayahan frowned and said calmly, "This is a hospital ward and there are still patients here. Could you please keep your voice down?" Unexpectedly, upon hearing Su Ayahan's words, the middle-aged doctor became even more aggressive, saying, "Who are you? I heard someone was practicing medicine illegally in our hospital just now. Treating patients without authorization, was that you?" Just as the middle-aged doctor finished speaking, the child in the hospital bed woke up. "Mom, I'm thirsty." The child's voice silenced everyone in the ward. Several doctors gathered around and saw that all the IV needles had been removed. One doctor, furious, said, "Nonsense, utter nonsense. Enforcement officer Xiao, you're foolish. You're ruining your son's life." The middle-aged doctor pointed directly at Su Ayahan and said, "That's him, detain him. He dares to practice medicine illegally in our hospital. Call the police in a bit." As soon as the middle-aged doctor finished speaking, the two security guards walked directly towards Su Ayahan, intending to subdue him. Facing the two men, Su Ayahan acted swiftly, tapping them with his finger. Before the two security guards could even react, they were frozen in place. "If your hospital can't treat the patient, does that mean the patient isn't allowed to see another doctor?" Su Ayahan's words made the middle-aged doctor look a little embarrassed, but he quickly recovered and said, "Hospitals are places for saving lives, but they also have rules. If something goes wrong with your treatment, won't our hospital be held responsible? Besides, judging from your age, you should still be in school. Do you have a medical license? What you said makes sense. So whether or not to continue treatment here should be discussed with the patient's family, not just based on your own judgment and forced upon them, which could end up causing both financial and emotional distress." Upon hearing Su Ayahan's words, the middle-aged doctor glanced at the two security guards who were standing there strangely motionless. Swallowed hard and turned to Officer Xiao, saying, "Brother Xiao, the child's illness cannot be completely cured with current medical technology, but I promise to do everything I can to keep the child alive. No need, I've decided to discharge the child." "What? Discharged from the hospital? You're kidding me. You'll harm your child." When Officer Xiao saw that his son was much more energetic and able to move freely after Su Ayahan's treatment, he knew in his heart that Su Ayahan must be a person with extraordinary medical skills. Otherwise, his child could not have undergone such a huge change in such a short time. Thinking of all this, Officer Xiao continued, The child is mine, and I will take responsibility for him. Please help me with the discharge procedures. Brother Xiao, you can't trust this brat. He's probably just trying to scam you out of your money. At his age, he couldn't possibly have a medical license. Nor could he possibly treat your child's illness. Su Ayahan looked at the middle-aged doctor who was spitting everywhere. Walked up to him and punched him in the mouth, bang. The middle-aged doctor felt his entire head go numb. Especially around his lips, which were burning with pain. With his hand covering his lips. Blood trickled down between his fingers. Only then did the middle-aged doctor realize what was happening. He quickly took several steps back. Looking at Su Ayahan with some fear, watch your mouth. If I ever hear the word brat again, I'll knock all your teeth out. The overwhelming power and aura that Su Ayahan exuded at that moment caused all the doctors to take several steps back. Looking at him with some fear, Su Ayahan glanced indifferently at the crowd. Then turned to Enforcement Officer Xiao and said, "Here's the prescription, just follow the instructions." "I'm leaving now." No one dared to stop Su Ayahan from leaving. The two security guards stood rooted to the spot. Unable to move, the middle-aged doctor, whose front teeth had been knocked out and was bleeding profusely, was pointing and gesturing at his colleagues. But he himself dared not step forward to stop Su Ayahan. "By the way, they'll both be able to move again in about 15 minutes. After speaking, Su Ayahan left the ward directly. At the same time, news that Su Ayahan had appeared at the hospital to treat Zhao's son reached Luo Zhuang and Kai Kun's ears. Inside the villa in Luo Zhuang, Luo Jihu had regained consciousness and the ability to move, which made Luo Zhuang extremely happy. However, Luo Jihu could not forget the torment Su Ayahan had inflicted on him. So he spilled everything to Luo Zhuang. "Dad, if I don't avenge this, I'll be haunted by this for the rest of my life." Luo Zhuang, his face grim, puffed on his cigar and said, "You don't need to worry about anything else. Just take good care of him. I'll make sure that kid dies a horrible death." Ring ring. The phone rang, and after Luo Zhuang answered it, his expression changed in just a few breaths. After hanging up, Luo Zhuang hurriedly dialed another number. "Old Tian, something's happened. So Su Ayahan went to the hospital to take care of your subordinate, Enforcement Officer Zhao's son." Yu Zhuang talked on the phone for a long time, but he didn't know what the other person was saying. After listening, Luo Zhuang hung up the phone. "Looks like someone's trying to shake the tree's roots. In that case, let's go all in at the same time." Kai Kun also received a message from his subordinates. "Brother Kun, something's not right. That Zhao guy is Deputy Director Tian's subordinate, and Su Ayahan is clearly on Director Huang's side. How did they get mixed up together?" Kai Kun said while smoking, "Looks like I guessed right now. Tell the brothers to send men to keep an eye on Luo Zhuang and Deputy Director Tian. Notify me immediately if anything happens." After the man left, Kai Kun squinted and muttered, "It seems I either have to take a stand and follow Luo Zhuang's path, or I have to completely break with him. He's been secretly maneuvering for so many years. If things are about to collapse, he definitely won't let me off so easily." Thinking of this, Kai Kun stubbed out his cigarette at Yup and walked outside. Su Ayahan returned to his residence and immediately entered the small world. He decided to return to Niulang village after dealing with the Luo family father and son in a while. After all, he was not short of money now and did not need to work hard for a living anymore. Suppressing his distracting thoughts, Su Ayahan sat cross-legged and entered a meditative state. His inner energy began to surge, and visible ripples appeared as the spiritual energy in the small world continued to gather. And with the added benefit of time, Su Ayahan's cultivation broke through again in just one night, directly entering the early stage of the innate realm. At this point, Su Ayahan could be considered a true master, plucking leaves and sending flowers flying, attacking with true qi outside the body, and scaling walls and rooftops. Scenes that were usually only seen on television were now completely within Su Ayahan's capabilities. Early the next mornings, feeling the surging true energy within his body. Su Ayan left the small world and appeared in his room. Arriving at the small living room, Su Ayan saw a potted plant on the windowsill in the distance. With a wave of his hand, a stream of energy appeared, and a leaf from the branch mysteriously flew into Su Ayan's hand. At the entrance, a shoe rack stood upright, its uprights made of square aluminum alloy tubing. A glint flashed in Su Ayan's eyes and in a blur, a small leaf shot out from his hand. With a crisp cracking sound, the aluminum alloy tubing on the shoe rack was severed. The leaves shattered due to the surge of true energy and fell to the ground. My internal energy control isn't subtle enough. I need to practice more. As he spoke, Su Ayan closed the door and went downstairs to a restaurant to get something to eat. Not long after Su Ayan sat down, two men walked in. After glancing around the restaurant, their eyes lingered on Su Ayan for a moment before they sat down next to him. Su Ayan had a strange feeling when he saw the two of them. After observing them carefully for a while, he noticed that they had very heavy calluses on their hands, and the location of the calluses was unusual. They were definitely not the kind of calluses that ordinary people would get from doing manual labor. Moreover, the way the two walked seemed to have a specific way of doing things, almost like muscle memory. Su Ayan was wondering about this when the food he ordered arrived. Without thinking much about it, he started eating. Just as Su Ayan turned around to eat, one of the men who was close to him suddenly produced a dagger and stabbed at Su Ayan's waist with lightning speed. While eating, Su Ayan, whose spiritual sensitivity had already reached the innate realm, suddenly sensed an aura rushing towards him. Without thinking, he hurriedly turned to the side. It was only because Su Ayan was caught off guard. The distance was too close, and the opponent's attack speed was extremely fast. Sizzle, the sound of clothes being torn was heard, accompanied by a bloody gash appearing on Su Ayan's waist. Seeing that Su Ayan had dodged his close-range attack, the man's eyes flashed with surprise. He then twirled the dagger in his hand and aimed it straight at Su Ayan's chest. At the same time, another man threw a steel needle, aiming directly at Su Ayan's eyes. The two men's teamwork and lightning-fast reaction speed surprised Su Ayan. Without time to think, Su Ayan acted swiftly, unleashing his true energy. The dagger in the man's hand was caught between Su Ayan's two fingers, and with a slight force it broke in two at the same time. Su Ayan's face surged with true energy, forming a barrier. When the steel needle came into contact with the barrier, it stopped in midair and began to spin continuously. The azure luster emanating from the steel needle made Su Ayan realize that it was likely laced with a potent poison. The two assassins were utterly shocked by what they saw, but as assassins, they possessed extraordinary composure. After failing to kill him, they hurriedly retreated, simultaneously unleashing several steel needles aimed at various parts of Su Ayan's body. A surge of true energy coursed through his body, sending 6 or 7 steel needles flying at the same time. Su Ayan waved his hand, 2 chopsticks flew into his hand, shooting out in an instant. PFFT. The chopsticks pierced through the arms of the two assassins, and with the shockwave of their inner energy, blood instantly stained their clothes. The two assassins were utterly horrified at this moment. They couldn't care less about anything else. They knew that their target was no ordinary person and was far beyond their ability to deal with. Their only option was to flee. Su Ayan naturally wouldn't let them leave so easily. He raised his hand and pointed in the air, and 2 streams of true energy flashed by. The 2 people who had just run to the door fell to the ground and couldn't move. Touching the wound on his waist, Su Ayan activated the 9 heavens yin-yang Kainkun technique within his body, channeling his true energy into the wound. In less than 10 breaths, the wound was mostly healed. Meanwhile, the restaurant owner was terrified, hiding in the kitchen and trembling as he called the police on his phone. Su Ayan walked up to the 2 assassins, squatted down, and said coldly, "Will you tell me yourselves or will I force you to?" The 2, unable to move, gave Su Ayan a cold look and said, "We've been caught and have nothing to say. But you can't expect us to say anything either." Go ahead and kill us if you dare, Zhu Aohan smiled. And a stream of true energy appeared on his fingertip, shooting into one of the men's bodies in an instant. The man's face turned red, and the blood vessels on his neck bulged like centipedes, as if they were attached to his body. He felt as if thousands of ants were tearing at his whole body. And most importantly, his internal organs felt the same way. The pain emanating from both the inside and outside caused the man's eyes to bulge out, as if his eyeballs were about to pop out, far exceeding the limits of human endurance. Online F***KU, I said. Someone paid us 10 million to take your life. Oh, kill me, kills me. Upon hearing the assassin's words, Zhu Aohan murmured. 10 million, that's really not expensive. It seems you Luo Zhuang are truly courting death fine. I'll let you watch your own son die right before your eyes. Just then the alarm sounded outside, and dozens of law enforcement officers rushed in. Seeing the two people lying on the ground, their blood-stained arms and Zhu Aohan standing to the side, they shouted, "Don't move." The team leader was Captain Wang. When he saw Zhu Aohan standing there, he was taken aback for a moment, then stepped forward and said, "Brother Zhu, it's you. What happened?" Zhu Aohan glanced at the assassin who had already fainted from the pain, and said to Captain Wang, "These two men wanted to kill me." He pointed to the broken dagger on the ground, and the several steel needles that had fallen to the ground. Seeing the things on the ground, Captain Wang waved and said, "Collect all the evidence and take it back. Take these two people with you too, and keep them under strict guard. Also, take the store's surveillance footage with you." After all the law enforcement officers had finished cleaning up, Captain Wang approached Zhu Aohan and said, "Brother Zhu, Director Huang was talking about you today. By the way, let me tell you a secret. Director Huang is going to take action against Kai Kun." Zhu Aohan glanced at Captain Wang in surprise. He didn't understand why Captain Wang was telling him this. But after thinking about it for a moment, he realized that it must be related to Director Huang. And it was also a way of secretly taking sides. Thinking of this, Zhu Aohan said in a low voice, "What about the Luo family, father and son, Brother Zhu? Let me tell Xiao, with Kai Kun captured, Luo village won't be able to cause trouble for much longer. However, Kai Kun is extremely difficult to deal with, and I'm afraid he won't speak up easily." After calculating the times, Zhu Aohan knew that even if Kai Kun spoke up, there was still time for Luo Jihu to die in front of Luo village. "Captain Wang's, thank you for your hard work. Would you like me to cooperate with an investigation at the Law Enforcement Bureau?" "Brother Zhu, no need, we'll investigate when we get back. If we need your help, I'll contact you again. Let's have dinner together another day." After noting down Zhu Aohan's phone number, Captain Wang led the enforcement team away from the restaurant. Zhu Aohan then put his hand in his pocket and, as a cover, took out 10,000 yuan from his personal storage device, placed it on the restaurant table and left. After buying some food, Zhu Aohan had just returned to his room when his phone rang. Seeing the unfamiliar number, pressed the answer button. "Hello, Brother Zhu, this is Kai Kun." Upon hearing that it was Kai Kun, Zhu Aohan frowned slightly, then said calmly, "What do you want to bring someone to fight me, ha 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 ha." "Brother Zhu, you jest, we Chinese letter Jianghu. A term referring to the world of outlaws, make friends in a world of opposing sides. Although I Kai Kun have taken the dark paths, I at least have my bottom lines. Stop beating around the bush. You didn't call me just to tell me you want to walk the straight path. Did you? I don't think that's any of your business. You should go to the Law Enforcement Bureau, Brother Zhu. I'm calling you because I just suffered betrayal from my men and almost died. Do you know who did it? Luo Zhuang's. To be honest, I can help you bring Luo Zhuang down." Upon hearing Kai Kun's words, a glint flashed in Zhu Aohan's eyes. After a moment's pause, he said, "You want to take advantage of my relationship with Director Huang. Brother Zhu, you jest, I'm doing this to make you my friend. Even if I Kai Kun am incompetent, I still understand that discretion is the better part of valor. If I don't adapt, I'm afraid I Kai Kun won't see the sun rise tomorrow." Kai Kun's words were quite clear. This is probably the difference between those who take the dark path and ordinary people. Just then, Su Ayan heard a chaotic sound coming from the phone, along with the sound of an alarm from the law enforcement team. All that could be heard on the phone was Kai Kun's voice. Director Huang, what are you doing, Kai Kun's? You are suspected of violating laws and regulations. Please come with us now to assist in the investigation. Hearing the voice on the phone, Su Ayan knew that Director Huang had already begun taking action. While Juu City appears calm on the surface, undercurrents are already surging. Kai Kun has been arrested and Deputy Director Tian, in his capacity as the second-in-command of the Law Enforcement Bureau, openly demands to jointly try Kai Kun and his accomplices. Meanwhile, the assassin hired by Luo Jihu was dealt with by Su Ayan and arrested by the Law Enforcement Bureau. And a power struggle was secretly unfolding in Juu City. At the entrance of the Law Enforcement Bureau, Captain Wang rushed out and seeing Su Ayan standing there, said with a smile, "Brother Su, Director Huang instructed me to take you in. But only for 5 minutes, there's pressure from above. And if we get caught, they might use this opportunity to make a big deal out of it." Su Ayan nodded slightly and said, 5 minutes is enough. Captain Wang then led Su Ayan to an interrogation room in the Law Enforcement Bureau, letting Su Ayan enter the interrogation room alone while he stood guard at the stairwell. As Kai Kun saw Su Ayan walk in, he smiled and said, "Brother Su, I knew you would come." Su Ayan looked at Kai Kun in surprise and said, "Are you so sure I'd come here?" Kai Kun smiled and said in a low voice, "Brother Su, you possess extraordinary abilities and will definitely not remain unknown forever. Not to mention this small place like Juu City. Even in the entire northern region, your future achievements will be remarkable. This requires someone to handle some trivial matters for you. And also some informants. Now I am your best choice." Seeing Kai Kun's smiling tiger-like expression, Su Ayan shook his head slightly and said, "You don't understand my world. When someone becomes strong enough, they don't need anyone's help. But I want to leave Luo Jihu with nothing. You know what to do, right?" Kai Kun's eyes lit up, and he stared intently at Su Ayan saying, "What about my past? Don't worry, I'll go see Director Huang in a bit." In less than 3 minutes, Su Ayan left the interrogation room and had Captain Wang take him directly to Director Huang's office. Inside Luo Jihu's villa, after learning of Kai Kun's arrest and the assassin's failure, Luo Jihu was plunged into distress. The person who killed Kai Kun was a trusted confidant whom Kai Kun had arranged for many years and who was highly valued by Kai Kun. In the end, the assassin failed. Now, Kai Kun is in the Law Enforcement Bureau, and only Deputy Director Tian can shut him up. But at this very moment, Luo Jihu, who had already regained his mobility, encountered problems again, and this time they were even more serious than before, which once again put Luo village in an extremely passive position. Su Ayan, it's definitely Su Ayan, damn it. I'll spend 100 million to buy his life. Chairman, please don't act impulsively. We hired assassins from Dark Knight because the young master recovered. But now he's like this again. If you really kill Su Ayan, then the young master." The secretary stopped there, not daring to say anything more, and could only nervously watch Luo Jihu. Luo Jihu frowned and picked up a cigar. His secretary quickly lit it for him and said carefully, "Chairman, we back down first. Let Su Ayan think we've really admitted defeat, and then have him cure the young master's illness. Once we're sure the young master is completely healed, it won't be too late for us to make our move." Upon hearing his secretary's words, Luo Jihu looked up and stared intently at her. This made the secretary's heart pound like a drum, sweat beading on her forehead, and she kept swallowing hard. For the secretary's moment felt like an eternity, because he knew very well what kind of person Luo Jihu was. "Call me and ask where Su Ayan is now. Also, have people keep a close eye on Su Ayan's residence. I don't believe he can handle so much cash by himself in such a short time." In the Enforcement Bureau and Director Huang's office, Su Ayahan had been talking with Director Huang for a full half-hour, and the two of them had smoked an entire pack of cigarettes. All right, Brother Su, I'll listen to you on this matter. The purpose of our law enforcement bureau is for the safety of the people and the harmony of society. Black and white are just rumors. Most people are swayed by public opinion in this society. It's possible that the black side exists in the sunlight, while the white side hides in the darkness. Thank you very much, Director Huang. I really owe you a favor. Director Huang glanced at the time and said with a smile, "Ha, Brother Su, calling me director is too formal. I'm being presumptuous. From now on, just call me Brother Huang. As for favors, I owe you a huge one just a few days ago. It's time I have some things to arrange for Captain Wang. You and I will go home later. Your sister-in-law cooked a delicious meal today. Let's have a good drink." Upon hearing Director Huang's words, Su Ayahan thought of Huang Dudu and said somewhat awkwardly, Brother Huang, how about another day? How can that be today? It is, besides. Your sister-in-law was talking about you yesterday, asking me to bring you home for dinner. It'll be a good opportunity for me to show you your current status in the family." Seeing that he couldn't refuse, Su Ayahan could only nod and say, "Okay, I wonder if Dudu is home." Upon hearing Su Ayahan's words, Director Huang assumed that Su Ayahan had designs on his daughter, and a hint of joy flashed in his eyes as he said, "Yes, at home. You can see me when you go there." Director Huang spoke excitedly, but he didn't see Su Ayahan's helpless smile and trembling thigh muscles. Su Ayahan bought some fruit by the roadside and went to Director Huang's house. The director's wife was naturally very welcoming to Su Ayahan, asking about his well-being. However, Huang Dudu kept looking at Su Ayahan with ill intentions, which made Su Ayahan's scalp tingle. "Ayahan, please sit down and have some water. Your food will be ready soon, okay, sister-in-law. Just make me some simple home-cooked food." As soon as Su Ayahan finished speaking, Huang Dudu, who was standing next to him, pouted and said, "You want to eat something good, but that requires spending money. Dudu, how can you be so rude?" Director Huang's words silenced Huang Dudu. She glanced at Su Ayahan with a threatening look. Then her eyes lit up and she said with a grin, "Brother Ayahan, the light in my room has been acting up for the past few days. Could you go up and take a look?" Seeing Huang Dudu's expression, Su Ayahan couldn't help but feel a tightness in his anus, and hurriedly shook his head saying, "No, I mean, I don't know how to fix light bulbs. You'll have to find a professional." No sooner had Su Ayahan finished speaking than Director Huang interrupted. "Brother Su, young people should learn more. If you don't know something, take your time. Why don't you go upstairs and check on Dudu? I'll go help your sister-in-law." As he spoke, Director Huang got up to leave, and Huang Dudu said with a grin, "You little rascal, come on, go fix my light bulb." "I'm not going. What can you do about it? You're not going." "Fine, you'll regret it." As she spoke, Dudu unbuttoned one button at her collar and suddenly shouted, "Dad, come quick, you." Su Ayahan spat out the mouthful of tea he had just taken a sip of, staring at Huang Dudu in shock at this moment. Director Huang ran out of the kitchen, still holding a cleaver, and looked at Huang Dudu and Su Ayahan with suspicion, asking what's wrong, what happened. Huang Dudu said with a hint of grievance on her face, "Dad, Brother Ayahan just." Before Huang Dudu could finish speaking, Su Ayahan quickly interrupted her saying, "Oh, Brother Huang, it's nothing. I was just about to go check on the lights for Dudu. But Dudu doesn't know if we have any tools or anything at home." "Oh, I see. The tools are there in the cabinet in the storage room. Dudu, take your brother Ayahan and go find them." "Okay, Brother Huang, you go ahead and get busy. Dudu will keep me company." Seeing Director Huang enter the kitchen, Su Ayahan breathed a sigh of relief, then looked helplessly at the smug-looking Huang Dudu and said, "All right, Grandma, I'll go look at the lights for you. Not just the lights but also the headlights." "What do you mean, a pair of headlights? It's just your pacifier." Hearing Su Ayahan's words, Huang Dudu skipped and hopped along behind saying, You dare to insult me, aren't you afraid I'll yell again? Upon hearing Huang Dudu's words, Su Aohan suddenly stopped and turned to look at Huang Dudu, shouting, "You're so young, what's the rush? Wait until you're married. Then you'll have your turn to yell." Huang Dudu was taken aback at first, then understood what Su Aohan meant. Her face turned bright red instantly, and she raised her leg to kick Su Aohan in the groin. Although Huang Dudu's attack was sudden and extremely fast, it was still considered slow motion in front of Su Aohan, who had already reached the innate realms. With a flick of his hand, a slender, straight, beautiful leg was grabbed. Huang Dudu, whose leg was being held, remembered the embarrassing incident from last time and blushed. Saying, "Let go," Su Aohan smiled wickedly and said, "You can kick me whenever you want, and you can make me let go whenever you want. What gives you the right to do that?" Seeing Su Aohan's malicious smile, Huang Dudu asked nervously, "So what do you want?" "What do I want? I want." Su Aohan deliberately drew out his voice as he spoke, touching his chin and looking Huang Dudu up and down, making Huang Dudu tense all over. Looking into Su Aohan's eyes, Huang Dudu was genuinely frightened and flustered, and said with evasive eyes, You better not do anything reckless, this is my home. My parents are still home." Seeing Huang Dudu's scared and nervous expression, Su Aohan's lips curled up slightly, and he released Huang Dudu's legs. "Come on, let me take a look at your headlights." "No. What's wrong with the lights in your room?" As soon as Su Aohan entered the room, Huang Dudu screamed and rushed to the bedside, grabbing a pile of small items and stuffing them under the covers. "You little rascal, you're not allowed to look." Although Su Aohan didn't look at it intentionally, he still saw everything clearly, all sorts of things, including some with embellishments. There's something wrong with that light. Is it the main light or the bedside lamp? It's a headlight. There's a stool over here, climb up and take a look. Su Aohan, unsuspecting, stepped onto a stool and went up to check the headlights. Just then, Huang Dudu suddenly took out a cable tie and tightly bound Su Aohan's legs together. After binding her several times, Huang Dudu said with a smug grin, "You little rascal, you've finally fallen into my hands. Didn't expect that, did you? Want to play with me? Well, today we'll see how you beg for mercy." As he spoke, Huang Dudu pulled the stool away from Su Aohan's feet. He thought Su Aohan would be unable to move and would fall onto the bed, where he could torment and do whatever he wanted. Unfortunately, what happened next completely stunned Huang Dudu. Huang Dudu tied Su Aohan up, thinking that the moment to torture Su Aohan was about to begin. But after he pulled the stool from Su Aohan's feet, Su Aohan suddenly exerted force with both legs, and the several sturdy straps on his legs snapped, allowing him to land gracefully on the ground. Huang Dudu stared at Su Aohan with her mouth agape. Utterly shocked, she couldn't react for a long time. Her eyes filled with admiration and awe. "How can you be so good? Did you learn Muay Thai or Taekwondo?" Su Aohan looked at the shocked Huang Dudu and pursed his lips, saying, "What you're describing are all extensions of traditional Huxia martial arts. Things from the great-grandchild generation. I learned authentic traditional Huxia martial arts." Huang Dudu clearly didn't believe it and said with doubt, "Impossible. I've looked at many Huxia martial arts schools, and almost all of them are just flashy but ineffective. Many of them can't even beat me, so they can't possibly be this good." Hearing that Huang Dudu, native Huxia, viewed martial arts, which have been passed down for thousands of years, in this way, Su Aohan couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. "You're truly a frog in a well. Huxia civilization spans thousands of years. How many countries and dynasties have there been? How many wars, large and small? What did we rely on to fight against the fierce cavalry of ancient times? The combat techniques honed on the battlefield were all killing skills, deadly in a single strike if you want to learn them. You'd better find the right person. Furthermore, don't casually use your shallow understanding to denigrate and belittle what your ancestors have passed down for thousands of years. The reason why Daxia has become the only civilization in the world to have continued uninterrupted for thousands of years and reached its current scale is due to its unique reasons. Not just empty talk. After Su Ayahan finished speaking, he turned to leave. Just then Huang Dudu suddenly grabbed him. Slammed the door shut and said, "Brother Ayahan, I want to learn Huxia Kung Fu, will you teach me? No, learning martial arts is very tough. If you give up halfway, it's disrespectful to Huxia Kung Fu. You'd better not even think about it. Brother Ayahan, please teach me. I promise I'll practice diligently, okay?" As she spoke, Huang Dudu hugged Su Ayahan's arm and shook it repeatedly. The soft and tingling sensation made Su Ayahan quickly back away, saying, all right, stop shaking me. I'm scared of you, I'll teach you some basics now. And once you've mastered these, I'll teach you something more advanced." Just as Su Ayahan and Huang Dudu were discussing Huxia martial arts, Director Huang and his wife, who lived on the first floor, stood at the top of the stairs and looked at Huang Dudu's closed room door. They exchanged a glance. Won't something bad happen? What could possibly happen? At worst, another person will have to come out. You old fool, you can't even speak properly. That's your daughter. My daughter will get married sooner or later. As long as she's willing, that's fine. Just as the two were talking, Su Ayahan and Huang Dudu's voices suddenly came from inside the room. Brother Ayahan, wait a minute, let me take off my clothes. I'm uncomfortable being so restricted like this. Yes, that's it, spread your legs a little apart. Hold your breath hand, then regulate your breathing. Upon hearing this, Director Huang and his wife exchanged a glance. Their faces filled with embarrassment and ran downstairs. Meanwhile, Huang Dudu was practicing horse stance in the room, while Su Ayahan was giving her instructions. Spread your legs wider and squat down, making sure the energy in your danshan doesn't dissipate. Practice this for at least 10 minutes every day, using the breathing techniques I just explained. Once your leg muscles no longer feel sore, increase it to 20 minutes a day. When you can hold this position for more than half an hour in one go, I'll consider teaching you other techniques. As he spoke, Su Ayahan left the room and went downstairs. Director Huang, seeing Su Ayahan coming down, said with great surprise, "Brother Su, are you done?" Su Ayahan assumed Director Huang was asking about fixing the light bulb, so he casually replied, "Oh, all done." After scrutinizing Su Ayahan with strange looks for a long time, Director Huang finally spoke, "Brother Su. No, I should call you Ayahan now, it's better if you. Why don't you P*** K yourself with a needle? Your medical skills are so high. You should be able to heal yourself." Su Ayahan was completely bewildered and had no idea what Director Huang meant. "Brother Huang, why are you suddenly saying that? I'm not sick or in pain, why would I P*** K myself? A doctor can't heal himself, kid, are you being silly? If you keep doing this, your homework will be completely unacceptable, and you'll easily get a beating at this moment." The director's wife nudged Director Huang with her hand and said, "Say less, you used to be the same. I'm all better now, aren't I?" Who was kneeling on the bed singing Conquer last night. The director's wife, her face flushed with embarrassment, pinched Director Huang and ran into the kitchen. Su Ayahan stared wide-eyed at the scene before him and murmured, "Is this even acceptable? Are you just going to say something like this so openly?" Director Huang seemed a little embarrassed and quickly said, Ayahan, you'll understand some things as you go. You're still young with unlimited potential. Come on, let's get ready to eat." Just as they were about to start dinner, Huang Dudu limped downstairs. Seeing Su Ayahan drinking with Director Huang, she pouted and said, "Brother Ayahan, my legs feel numb and a little sore. I used to practice Taekwondo, so my leg strength is very strong, what's going on?" Huang Dudu's words made Director Huang spit out the wine he had just taken a sip of. Cough, 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 coughs. Dudu, why do you say everything that comes to mind? Don't you know when to stop?" Huang Dudu was startled by her father's serious expression, and then sat down at the dining table and said, "What's wrong with saying this? It wouldn't hurt if you saw it, clang clang. A series of clattering sounds came from the kitchen, followed by the director's wife arriving at the dining table. She looked at Huang Dudu sternly and said, Dudu, how could you do something like that? Are you trying to drive me crazy? Huang Dudu looked at director Huangthan at Su Ayahan, and finally at her mother saying, Mom, it's just horse stance, what's wrong with watching? Ask Ayahan, it's not a secret, anyone can see it. Now it was director Huang and his wife's turn to be dumbfounded. Dudu, you mean horse stance? Yes. Brother Ayahan knows Huxia martial arts, so I asked him to teach me. I'm going to start with horse stance. Mom and Dad, what are you thinking? Director Huang blushed and said somewhat awkwardly, I thought it was about practicing the splits eyes. The splits. Huang Dudu looked at her parents with a puzzled expression. And Su Ayahan also felt that director Huang and his wife were acting a bit strangely. Come on, have some food. Yes, that's enough. Brother Su, don't be shy here today. Eat and drink as you please. Come on, let's have a drink. After several rounds of drinks and dishes, Su Ayahan took his leave. Director Huang tried to persuade him to stay, but to no avail. After all, Su Ayahan needed to return to his small world to cultivate a habit he never broke. At the entrance of director Huang's house, Huang Dudu looked at Su Ayahan and said, You little rascal. When are you going to teach me real kung fu? Didn't I say that once you can hold a horse stance for more than half an hour, I'll consider teaching you something. Hey Tilda, look what that person is doing. Huang Dudu's words made Su Ayahan turn his head curiously. Just then a look of joy flashed in Huang Dudu's eyes, and he raised his leg to kick Su Ayahan. But just when she thought she was about to succeed, a hand suddenly appeared and grabbed her leg. You little bean, you're far from good enough. If you want to attack me, you'll need to train for another 30 years, as he spoke. Su Ayahan gently nudged Huang Dudu, who lost his balance on one leg and landed on his bottom on the ground. Oh dear, look at you, how could you be so careless? Luckily, there's a lot of flesh on the ground, which helps with shock absorption. If you had fallen forward, the consequences would have been much more serious. After Su Ayahan finished speaking, he turned and left. Huang Dudu looked down at her chest, her face full of anger as she watched Su Ayahan's retreating figure. Muttering to herself, You pervert, you filthy scoundrel, I'll grow up eventually, snort. Su Ayahan looked at the setting sun and the fiery sunset on the horizon, a smile on his lips as he walked towards home. Just then, a car stopped in front of Su Ayahan. Luo Jihu got out of the car smiling and said to Su Ayahan, Su Ayahan, you just came from Director Huang's house. Seeing Luo Jihu's smiling face and his seemingly ingratiating manner, Su Ayahan's eyelids twitched, but he said expressionlessly, Boss Luo, are you following me? Don't misunderstand, I came here specifically to see you. My son's health has deteriorated again, and I'd appreciate it if you could take a look at him again, mister. Su Ayahan smiled and nodded slightly, no problem. The billion in cash will remain where it was last time. Upon hearing Su Ayahan's words, Luo Jihu's eyelids twitched uncontrollably. But he maintained a smile and said, Young man, isn't this a bit too much? Luo Jihu's secretary also said angrily, Kid, do you think this is a video game? Starting with 1 billion gold coins. You're crazy for money, aren't you? Then you should find someone else. As Su Ayahan was about to leave, a glint of light flashed in Luo Jihu's eyes. And then he said with a smile, All right. We've become friends through this misunderstanding. I'll send you the 1 billion in cash tonight. The car was driving on the highway. Inside, Luo Jihu sat motionless, smoking a cigar. His secretary, sitting beside him, cautiously spoke up. Chairman, are we really going to give him 1 billion in cash? We just invested tens of billions in a project. And with the funds under regulatory oversight, that money can't be touched. This could shake our foundations, HMPH. He can't possibly consume 1 billion in cash. Let alone digest it, that money will be his death warrant. And in the end it will all return to me in full. At the same time, Kai Kun Agu. and several of Kai Kun's key subordinates were released from the Law Enforcement Bureau, which was also Director Huang's intention. At the entrance of the Law Enforcement Bureau, Kai Kun, smoking a cigarette, arrogantly glanced around. A car in the distance caught his attention. After frowning and staring at the car for a long time, Kai Kun slowly spoke. "Agu, something's wrong, drive away quickly." Upon hearing Kai Kun's words, the group hurriedly got into the car that had come to pick them up and left the entrance of the Law Enforcement Bureau. "Brother Kun, could it be that Master Jin or Scarface Long are trying to take over the North District?" "I don't think it's Jin Yi or Scarface Dragon. Someone wants me to shut up forever." To disappear completely after hearing Kai Kun's words, Agu disregarded everything else, took the phone from the driver's pocket, entered a number, and dialed it. "Hey, get a few guys with weapons. Something's happened to Brother Kun. East of the law enforcement station, hurry."